a little different than it was.
This conference will now be recorded.
We'll start this meeting with a flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here we are, June 22nd, Marion County Commission meeting, 9 a.m. this morning. And Scott Lloyd's here with the budget. And I think he's ready to go, so I'm not going to hold him back. Anybody else going to hold him back this morning? Okay. All right.
I think I've introduced, but this is Tiffany and this is Hannah. And Tiffany works full-time for us now. She was here last year as an intern. And Hannah is an intern, goes to KU, and feel sorry for her. She gets stuck in the truck with Scott Lloyd.
That is sad.
In a big truck?
Yeah, the big truck. Yeah.
But at least it's a newer truck, it's not the older truck.
Oh.
Yeah, blue. I don't drive blue unless it's when they're long. Okay, just to give you a couple things here, David. You may have had like city or school.
No.
Okay, so you're newer to the budget process. Okay, so don't ever feel like there's a dumb question. Okay, that's the way I've kind of done this since 1987, probably 88, and. We're going through the first one here today. You've already met with all the department heads, and so in the past, and that's probably a good thing. The one thing I miss there is I don't hear all their discussion. So if I have some numbers in here or I don't know what is happening, I need some enlightenment there, because in the past I've heard all that discussion.
Shut up.
Yeah. And so kind of the thing here, what I've done, and I assume unless you want to change it for today, is I have put together, it's several pages, almost 40. And what it is, it's some notes because we have a new budget law. And I was going to explain a little bit of that up front. And then we're going to go through the budget, and we have the numbers stuck in from those department head meetings, like the Road and Bridge road project, 26 million on the blacktop roads. Okay, that kind of skewed the budget a little bit, but other than that, I mean, everything else I'll show you. I just made notes of things that jumped out at me. And what this is on this first session too is, now these four have been involved in the budget process before, but a lot of times I'll take the time to explain certain things, because I think it's I'm a big believer it's very important to understand, how things work and why that number's that way and all that. And if I don't know the answer, definitely Tina does, okay? So, yeah. So, but between us, we'll be able to hopefully answer your question. If not, with the new budget law, I may have to go, there's some unique things about this. And then the one thing I can't tell you right now, because we're trying to get up to speed on it, we call it rescue money, but it's the American Rescue Plan. And we got, I don't know how many people right now just trying to figure all that out and figure out how it's going to impact counties, infrastructure, a lot of that. So my envision, once I've been through, I go through yours today and I go through Osage counties on Friday, and I actually meet with the departments there and all that. Once I get through that, and maybe even with yours next Monday, I'm hoping that the rescue treasury guidance is out so we can kind of see if this is going to tie together. That was kind of my originally. You're the ones that have this capital improvement fund, and so I envisioned originally that if we could tie the capital improvement fund to the rescue funds, kind of to see what we can use it for infrastructure. Now you can't use it for roads, but anyway, right now you can't. It could change, I guess. But who knows? But that's kind of my vision, is we can go through here and we'll kind of be keeping the rescue here in the background to see if there's things that we have the budget that would actually work. What I did here, Jan Noley, who some of you have met, she does a lot of the budgets with the help of these two, both in Marion and Osage. These are kind of her 5 or 6, the first 8, actually 8, are some things that she's kind of pulled out that either from the League of Municipalities or from different trainings we've been to. And so if you're not familiar with what's called RNR, it's called the revenue neutral rate, okay? And Tina's probably explained some of this to you maybe.
Really, really briefly, just when I talked to them about what our value was.
Yeah,
to it.
okay. So the way to understand it, I didn't circle it on yours, but if you, on that first page, page 1, if you go down there where it says RNR equals, right in the middle of the page, I just wrote some numbers in there. So like if you would flip, put your finger on 10, circle page 10 at the bottom, and then you can, if you want to write this in, it kind of helps you understand how this calculation is made, okay? So I've circled, on page 10, I've circled some numbers. And I have RNR there. You see it, 66.414 on page 10. You see that number?
Yep.
Okay, so that is the revenue neutral rate. To the left of there, there's a circle of the tax dollars. That was the final dollars as of last year's budget, okay? So if you take that 10,649,138, it would be on top over here on this calculation. Last year's total, so if you wanted to, just so you see it, it's 10,649,138. That would be the top property tax raised. The bottom number on that page 10 would be right below that 10 million circle. There's a number 160,351,349, 160,351. That would be the bottom number over here. And that's how you end up calculating the revenue neutral rate, okay, on that. So the rest of these I'm not going to go through. It's just information. There's some schedules. The timing. Did we ever say? Is it August 23rd you were thinking about?
Well, initially I was thinking of the 16th,
16th. Okay.
but
So
we haven't.
we actually have potentially 2 hearings. We have the budget hearing we've always had that has to be published 10 days before and all that. And then if you exceed the revenue neutral rate, you have to have another hearing, which could be anywhere from August 20th to September 20th, okay? And some are trying to do it all at the same time, but you'll see as we look at the numbers here, you're probably gonna have to exceed the revenue neutral rate, okay? Because it's about 10 mils difference from where you were at last year. But I don't know, maybe we should just talk about that real quick. I was asking them earlier. Of that $160 million, there's a $20 million increase because of new improvements, but some of that is Keystone Pipe. Do you know what?
The majority of it is about 18 million. 18
million of the 20 million is. So the way to think of, I was trying to explain to them on the way over here. Let's just say it was about 20 million. We could just use round off 20 million. So 20 million is 20,000 per mill, okay? So every mill you raise, you're getting an increase of $20,000 if you would take advantage of the assessed value, okay? And that's why they did this law this way, because that's what was happening across the state of Kansas is they locked it in at the dollars from last year and then calculated on the assessed value the revenue neutral rate. See, what always happened in the past, now last year was the first year here, I believe, that the actual assessed value went down from 140 million to 139 million. That's the first time it ever happened here, okay? But here, now, this year, we're sitting in a totally different situation. Even if you just had the 2 million that wasn't Keystone, you would still be in a position where every mill that you had was $2,000. You see how I'm getting that? You take 3 decimal points, move to the left. So if we just had the $2 million, it's non-Keystone, what that would be on, and let's just round it off, 70 mills, okay? Be 70 times 2. 140. So 140,000, okay? So the 70 times 20,000 is 1.4 million, okay? So that's the difference between roughly the revenue neutral rate, and if you captured the entire $20 million, you would have somewhere between 1.2, 1.6, depending on where that falls at. So that's quite a bit of money. I mean, that's 10 mils of money. And in the past, you wouldn't have captured all that, but you would have said, oh, we got $20,000 or $20 million. we'll just keep the mill levy the same and capture $1.4 million and use it in the budget. See, that's what the state legislature was trying to shut down, and trying to put it to the vote of the people before you just go and capture that $20 million. So what we have to do is we have to basically do a resolution that says we're exceeding the revenue neutral rate of whatever, amount you decide, and then you have to have a separate hearing so that people this year, separate hearing this year to say that we are exceeding, and they can come and question it. Now, next year is a whole different story. The county clerk has, I think this is right, I think it's on the bottom of, it's on page 2 there. At the very bottom, it says, beginning in 2022, which would be next year for the 2023 budget, the county clerk will mail revenue neutral notifications to all taxpayers. So when they come up with the revenue neutral rate next year, 66 point is what it was this year, they would have to mail that out to every taxpayer, which is unbelievable. Yeah. And the reason they didn't actually carry through with this year, the software companies couldn't pull that off. Wasn't that part of it?
Yeah, I think they're,
And the clerks and all that. I mean, it was a mess. It's a mess. That part.
When is the mailing date?
July 20th, you have to have let, I don't know
so
what the
the
mailing, I don't know what the mailing.
notification date is, I don't think it states the mailing date, but we have kind of a timeline on that, because all of the entities
Right.
have to notify us by July 20.
Right,
And
so
so
the
we have
entities is
to,
July 20th deadline.
what,
The entities deadline is
Right.
July 20th.
to let me know
Right.
when and where their hearing's gonna be and what their proposed rate is, and that has to be put into a notice and then mailed out.
Okay.
And we don't have a lot of time to do it.
Is that for this year?
No.
That starts next year.
2022?
This year, we do have to, everyone has to publish and hold that hearing if they're gonna exceed.
Okay.
And they'll still have to do that next year too.
Okay.
But we also then have the additional requirement of sending that notice. And the state supposedly is gonna pay for it
Yeah, for 2 years.
for 2 years, but after that, the law says that I have to charge back each of those districts for their part of the cost.
Yeah, it's kind of like reappraisal back in 1989, when the state said, we'll pay for all the reappraisal of the county. How long, well, you guys are,
Yeah,
there's not too many here that are around in 89, but that state just basically shut it off after 1 year, so I don't know. Anyway, if you look at page 3, it doesn't state a date when you have to have that mailed out, but if you look up there, it's the third bullet down, says July 20th, and then it's the second bullet from there, it says, we'll notify by mail. So I'm assuming that when the clerk finds out from all these entities, then literally at that point, there'll be hopefully a button hit on the computer that says, this is the notification that will be sent out. I don't know if that's really going to be said. I'm not going to spend any more time, but this is really good information if you wanted to know a little more about the timelines, how it works, all that. Then on page 7, this is just a fire district, but this is the way yours would be also. If you look up on the right hand, the very last column, and let's just say you did your budget, you come up with 6.818 mils. You see that number on the very right hand column there? Okay, so that would be the rate that you calculated when you did your budget. And then right below that, when you go down that column, the very bottom of that column is 5.489. That would be the revenue neutral rate. So this is the way the publication will go out. We don't actually have to make, I believe that's right, we don't have to make 2 publications if the dates are the same for the budget hearing and the revenue neutral rate hearing, okay? So that's the way it'll show in your publication. You'll have the 60, like in this case, let's just say you did 66 is the revenue neutral rate, and you decide to raise the mill levy to 72. Then the 72 would be what was showed based on all the funds, down to 72, and then the revenue neutral rate would show right below it. Now this next one is a city resolution, but this would be the way then you would notify by resolution on page 8, you would notify that you are planning on going above the revenue neutral rate to calculate your budget for the year, okay? Okay, I'm on page 9, but I'm going to explain something before I get there, and I don't think I put it in there because I didn't want to, I should have probably, but I didn't want to confuse you even more. But this is something that's happened ever since I've done the budget. It's called a consolidated county budget. What a consolidated county budget is basically you do the county budget and a budget hearing for them, but you also can add in all the cemeteries, all the fire districts, any others besides townships. Townships would not be included in that consolidated county budget. Between Jan and I and Tina, we couldn't figure out a way, goodness gracious, I'm destroying things. Sorry. You can tell I've been locked up for a year. Okay. Anyway, you can basically, you did it that way because all those little entities had one publication, okay? And the paper only published it once. Now, it was a bigger publication, but it was published once. But with this revenue neutral rate, we don't know for every one of those, like Tina meets with all the cemeteries. We do the fire districts, I think most of the fire districts. And is that the only ones? Is there watershed?
That you guys do?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some.
We do, but they don't come in on the consolidated budget. But anyway, so we're gonna have to actually probably just niche the consolidated budget. So the way your publication will show this year will just be the county budget, okay? Because we can't coordinate all those revenue neutral hearings because they can't see. In the past, the budget hearing was all the same day. If the cemetery people wanted to show up, they could show up. The fire district people show up, they could show up, and the budget hearing was done. Well, now that we have a budget hearing and a revenue neutral hearing, there's no way to coordinate that because some of them would be maybe having a revenue neutral hearing, some wouldn't, and they could potentially be all these different dates.
And the law does say that at the end of that hearing, they have to vote, so
Yeah.
that their boards would have to be there. And
Yeah.
so,
So every one of those will, I mean, the paper's gonna love it, but every one of those is gonna have to publish their budget individually. And then have a meeting, like she said, if they decide to do it and then no one's questioning it, then they would actually vote on it at the end. And they could have it at their own times, anywhere between August 20th and September 20th. But I think the first year, we talked about it, we've got some Jan's worked out some stuff, because we do all 40 of them, of the extra budgets up at Osage. So between Tina and all them, we have come up with, we'll come up with kind of a step-by-step, here's how you would do it. You've never done this before, but this is how you'll handle the publication.
yeah,
Now-
cemetery will have to have their own budget hearing.
Yeah.
I resign.
Hey, you know how to do it, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's a new thing, and I mean, it's not big, but it's gonna put a little more work on, again, on the county clerk, which is,
Costs lots of extra money.
yes, it is.
It is gonna end up, unfortunately, costing the taxpayers more, because I think it's about, the newspaper will have about 30 more publications.
Revenue neutral
rate publication. We need to make sure that it's known that it's for publication.
Oh, yeah. And then that notice too, once we have to start paying the cost of that'll, I mean, it's just adding more expense onto the process.
And they don't understand the small town, small cemetery boards and some of this. It's hard to get them together every other month, let alone come for this.
So, we'll have a checklist, we'll try to make it as easy as possible for you guys.
That checklist would help. Before you get started,
Yeah.
and you've mentioned it already, the 26 million, I saw that and when I was sitting here the other day. I don't want to go through the whole meeting and you figuring that with that unless the board does, but.
No, we'll talk about it, I just left it in there
Okay.
because I wanted to show
Okay.
how many mills that was.
Okay,
The shock value.
yeah, shock value, but I don't want to, I want to.
The rest of them, I was at, I do my best thinking, I'm a lazy boy, but last night I was, bless you, I was going through this and I looked at, every line item pretty well with the departments. I don't see any departments that are really crazy with what they brought into you. The 26 million, I mean, that's not gonna happen, but.
I might have laughed in that meeting when I
Did
saw
you?
that. No.
Yeah.
But
Immediately.
But I think,
Immediately laughed.
I think it's good, you know, we have it in there, it's easy to just change, you know, drop the to 2 million or whatever that number is, it's easy to change, it's not a big deal. I left it in there so we can talk about it. So, if there's not any other questions on what I just shared, that's kind of just the general things. I'll explain this, David, too, because this is kind of our bridge, okay? So on page 9, what I did is, and I don't have this exactly right because I was trying to figure it out last night with the actual mill levy from last year. I'm off a little bit, 2 mills, but it gives you the concept, okay? So on page 9, it would be as if you took the 160 million assessed value and you got it all, okay? And you applied it to, and I've got there, if you see a 1 under column O there, you'll see a 1 that says 74.226.
Yep.
So what this is, and I just left it this way, it's actually last year's mill levy was 76,048, okay? So, but this will work because this is what we're facing right here. If it was 74,226, you would generate to the right of that circled number, 1,253,101, okay? So like if you just decided to make, okay, mill levy this year is gonna be 74, we're going above the revenue neutral rate, and that's what it will generate, okay? So you can kind of see that. If you flip back to the next page, I've already showed you this in a little bit. This would be as if you locked in this sheet with the revenue neutral rate of 66,414 based on the same dollars. So again, it's about 1.2 million difference from that 74. Now what this is, David, this is really handy, is there's 2 types of funds in the budget. There's a levy fund and there's a non-levy fund. What shows up on this bridge, I call it the bridge to the budget, are the levy funds. All the other funds that are listed in there, they might be like a fee fund. So like they would be like whether you get the Lake Patrol money from the Corps of Engineers or, you know, your
Sales tax.
well, no, your solid waste utility, like where you get fees from your, you know, the construction dump and all the fees you get there. So those types of funds are non-tax levies, so I don't put them on here. The reason I do that, I've done this sheet forever, is if you tell me you want a certain mill levy, I can go in and real easy on this one page and make the adjustments, okay? So like, let's just say that we wanted to increase, if you were looking here, and this is probably a good one to look at, if you flip between 9 and 10, let's just say that you wanted to, on the general fund, which is the first line on 9, let's just say you wanted to capture in the general fund 24.754 mills, which would be based on that 74. Let's just say you wanted to capture that in the general fund and leave all the other funds the way they were under the revenue neutral rate, okay? Then what this sheet is really easy to do, I can go in and change that 1, leave all the others the same, and then that calculates where the tax levy would be on all the taxing funds. Then I go back to your budget, which we're going to be going through here, and I make the changes in the line items to reflect that. But I can make this one page, just one change of things you want, and I can tell you where it'll end up, okay? And that's why we do this. So it's kind of, and then it shows you what the mill levy is for the last 2 years, okay?
If we were to do that, then that's 500,000 basically.
Yeah.
You'd be putting in there.
Yeah, and over at the right there of that 24, that number in column P down there shows the amount of extra taxes that will be generated. The revenue neutral rate's a 0 in that column, but the other one, whatever mill levy we decide to set it at, it'll show you how much is generated in each one of those funds, okay? And one thing to remember is the general fund is definitely the place to make sure it's the healthiest, because it can spend for anything, even for principal and interest. So, you know, employee benefits, even like if an employee benefit fund would run out of money, which is done in the counties I've worked in before, the general fund can pick that up as a line item, okay?
Okay, one more question.
Yep.
You've got down there, increased SS value due to Keystone Pipeline.
Yep.
That's this year. How do we plan to move ahead for the next year or two, not knowing what's gonna happen? Is that stuff is it gonna be decreased in value or does anybody have a clue?
Is it gonna depreciate value?
Depreciated
Appreciate
value,
it,
I would
yeah.
guess.
And that's, so we may not get that kind of money next year.
I'm not sure, I'd have to find this out.
Yeah.
This is, I got a lesson on pipelines here about 2 years ago. In Reno County, there's a lot of pipelines across Reno County. And the way the pipelines are set are state assessed, I believe. Does that sound right to you? Okay, so I am not kidding you. I got a guy that had done this for 27 years in the back office of PVD. All he's ever done is valued pipelines. He gave me a dissertation for about 45 minutes of how they value pipelines, okay? What it is, it's all based on the flow of the oil through that pipeline. So, and now my son just got a job last week, meter engineering in Wichita. It's a big, they work off a magnetic flow now. He's gonna be an engineer there, the measurement is a magnetic flow and not they used to have loops, I guess, or something. So what he said is, these measurements are all taken on all the pipelines, on all the taxing. I mean, this guy, that's what he does full-time, all of his life, okay?
Exciting job.
Exciting job, yeah. So he was explaining how it all worked, and so the flow of the pipeline sets the assessed value, and then once they set that assessed value, that's how you get your assessed value for here. So I'm guessing if the Keystone, and this is, maybe I'm an idiot here, if the Keystone pipeline's not flowing, you wouldn't get anything, would you? I mean, that's based on what he told me for 45 minutes, but I don't know that. I'm just telling you what, I'll have to do a little research. I'll call the guy back.
They're not taxing on the physical pipe, they're taxing on
That's right.
the flow.
The flow of the oil, or whatever
Yeah,
liquid you have
whatever
going
it
through the
is.
pipeline, yeah.
There's still gonna be a base value.
You would think so, but the way he explained it to me, because what happened in Reno County, in all the townships that had these pipelines going through it, there was an incredible jump in assessed value. And I couldn't figure out why, and it wasn't in any of the other, it wasn't property, it wasn't, so I called the state and they said, oh, it's the pipelines. And then that's when I got this guy and he explained it. So I don't know, I'm just telling you, based on that conversation, I don't know how the Keystone Pipeline, but I'll find out, because when I saw this 20 million jump, that's a
So
lot.
if they shut the pipe, quit pumping, the money quits too.
Well, that's what it sounds like. Yeah, I mean, the way he said it is the reason they base it on the flow of the pipeline is because then they can pay taxes if they have product flowing through there. If they don't have product flowing through there, there would be no taxes or a very low. I mean, it makes sense if they can measure it correctly.
But there's still a baseline value, I mean, just like oil wells. Even if you don't produce the oil well, you're still paying a tax.
I'm just saying that if we use some of this money this year and then it leaves us next year.
Yeah, you're saying you can't depend on it every year.
Well, I'm just wondering, that's just a question.
With the tax lid gone, you can raise your mill levy back too.
Yeah.
So you're not confined.
We're not, I heard last week that there may be some issues with some of the state assessed numbers that the state sent out. So I don't know if you heard about this, Scott. I told Jan.
I didn't.
But there were some county clerks and that their assessed value their state assessed was not correct. And so it contacted PVD. They didn't seem very interested in making any corrections at this time. So some of this may not even be right. I mean, I don't have a way to really be able to check
No,
that.
that's
but,
not your job.
I don't have a lot of, I think it's great that it's there, but I'm not 100% sure that it will be there by November.
Here's the other problem with this, back to this revenue neutral hearing. So let's just say that they decide not to go with above the revenue neutral rate, and some of these changes in assessed value happen, up or down, and if it creates more dollars than what they put in the budget, and it literally, I was just talking to Bruce Cladney, he's the Kansas Association of Counties Executive Director. He was telling me that those poor clerks, they're gonna have to be the watchdog of every budget, every line item levy in all the budgets, because if it goes above it, what they originally calculated, the revenue neutral, they have to send the money back to taxpayers. See, so that whole thing, when they, now like Marquita, this goes way back, but what I used to do for Marquita is I'd come over and I went through every budget the county issued and calculated the mill levy, and put it in red, and then we certified it. So we had 2 people looking at it. And I was thinking about that the other day, because she just did it because she was so meticulous, you know, wanted, everything had to be, but you know, almost it's gonna have to happen almost that way this time, not us, but just somebody's gonna have to help, because that took us like, I bet that took 2 days, you know, just going through all the budgets, making sure, and you kinda have to do that, you have to do that anyway, but now if it's off, it's gonna actually have to be sent back to the taxpayers. Isn't that nuts? Yeah. Anyway, I'll on the pipeline part, I'll see if I can, I don't remember his name, I got it somewhere, I'll maybe call him and get their dissertation. Okay, so everybody on page with the 2 sheets there?
Yeah.
Kinda how, and the amount above the revenue neutral rate can be set at, the way I understand it, can be set at any, you know, once you went above it, you set it where you want to make the budget work, okay? And so the way I've got it here, even though it's not the same mill levy as last year, it's still a difference. You can see how it impacts, okay? Okay, let's just keep going here. I'm not gonna dig into some of these. Let's get right to the meat of it here. If you go to page 17, and I usually don't start in the general fund, but we're just gonna start in the general fund unless somebody else wants to start somewhere else. And I'm just gonna point out things that I have seen, and then see if there's anything else Tina or you all have that I need to know, so that when we come back on Monday, this is kind of, okay, so looking down the road, I mean, we're talking right now, but when I leave here today, hopefully you'll give me a guidance on where you want it, kind of roughly where you want it. And what we'll do is we'll go this week, and when we come back Monday, we'll have the same packet, but it'll be adjusted to where you think it ought to be for, in a sense, starters. This is kind of just, you know, we threw the departments in here and all that, but where you want to be on Monday, and then which you'll be above the revenue neutral rate, but by July 20th, if we were really pushing it, you would have to know by July 20th what that rate's gonna be. And if it's above the 66.16, then you would state it, you do
Right.
all that, okay?
So you're gonna pretty well have to know what your budget is gonna be, because like Scott said, you probably will exceed that revenue.
So what happened in the past is we would not get to that number until usually the Monday that we send it to the paper.
Yeah.
And that was usually about August 12th or something like that. So we'll be almost a full month ahead of where we would be. Yeah. Okay? Okay, on 17, you should have these numbers written in here. These are things I just went through and circled real quick last night, just to make sure everybody's on the same page, especially in the general fund. We always try to make sure we're conservative on the receipt side or the revenue side, because you don't want, in a government budget, you don't want to say, like, let's just use sales tax. If the 776,820 was the sales tax for 2020, I don't have it circled, but then I've got the 650 and the 650 circled. We don't want to go in and say, oh, sales tax is going to be 900,000 in 2022. Because if we put it at 900,000, 250,000 above where it's at, that means somewhere down below we've stuck it in an expenditure line item or cash carryover to show that extra. And if we depend on that and it never shows up at 250,000, it would be a problem. So I've always tried to make it conservative. I'm not saying that 650 needs to change, but there's about 126,000 in each of those years that we have a little bit of flexibility with, okay? And if someone would ask, okay, well, what if we don't put the 126,000 there, we leave it at 650? What that means is if it does come in at the 776 like we showed in 2020 and 2021, that would be cash carryover. We just wouldn't have it designated in the 2022 budget, but in the 2023 budget, we'd have an extra 126,000 of cash potentially to be used to budget in 2023. So it's not like you lose it, you just wouldn't have potentially the budget authority. But I would rather be conservative and spend it off of, what we know for sure we're probably gonna get, and then we'll just deal with the cash carryover the next year. And we'll talk a lot about that today. Cash carryover is a huge thing, especially in this. It was especially in the tax lid days. Now that you can go above, it's again kind of up to the commission how they want to spend it. But in the tax lid days, you did not want to spend the cash down because you couldn't levy it unless you went above the tax lid. Okay, so each one of these I identified was sales tax, county officers' fees, interest and penalty on taxes, which you don't know on those what that's going to be, but it's quite a bit more than what we're estimating. Special closeout, what that is the motor vehicle that you operate for the state of Kansas. You get a share of that. It goes into motor vehicle fund, and by June 1st, that has to be transferred into the general fund for the use of general money. So in this case here, you got $66,946. So that number could go up or down. Now, the county treasurer, it's all at the use of all the will of the county treasurer. That's kind of an interesting law. I went up against him in the legislature probably about 20 years ago because it's so vague how it's written. Now, your county treasurer usually turns over a pretty good chunk, but some don't. Some use it all up because they can use it kind of however they want to in their office for buying furniture or administrative service. The lowest one I ever had at Osage County was $10.16, just left over. She didn't like the commissioners, so she just spent it down to $10.16. Okay, interest on idle funds, look like that's the last one down there. You just stop me, I'm just talking here, you just stop me if you have any questions. I'm just showing you some things that jumped out at me. If you go on page 18, one thing I always look at here is if you look at the first column, I've got the first circle there is $2,751,000. That, at the end of 2020, that is the estimated cash carryover, okay, of the general fund. The middle column is $1,963,000. So that's still, pretty good, not bad. One way that, and we talked about this before, if you took the total expenditures, and let's just say it was 5.3 million is what it shows there, and let's just use 4.8 million just to round it off to show you how this works. But 4.8 million would be 400,000 a month, okay? So 400,000 a month in the general fund, and it's kind of back to the old rule of thumbs, David, that this is very, very simple, but you don't see it in today's finances with people because they use credit cards. But in the day, you had an emergency fund. So like you would say, okay, I need 6 months of my salary or whatever set aside for something goes wrong. So I've kind of taken that, made it very simple, and taken that same concept in a government for the general fund. So you would just say, okay, divide it, so 400,000, if that was your monthly expenditure in the general fund, times 6 would be 2.4 million. And we're sitting at 2.7 million at the end of 2020. So we're in that ballpark, okay? Now some, like the city of Galvin where I live, Wayne Ford's passed away now, so I think they're spending down a little bit, but he was always very conservative. He was the longest running mayor in the United States of 42 years. He always was very conservative, so he would have as much as 24 months of cash carryover in his budget. But they have an electric fund, and I mean, there's differences between cities and counties, but a county, if you have 6 in the general fund, especially if you have 6 months, that's a pretty good cash carryover. And then what happens is, that helps you with that, is back to that page 17, all these pluses over here I've got at the right, if we don't account for them in the revenue side or the receipt side, like the 126, the 67, the 80, and 30, and we just leave it conservative like we are right now, all that money dumps into the end of the year. You see what I'm saying? So we're not showing it as expenditures, we're showing it as cash carryover. So that kind of gives you a flow and kind of gives you an idea of how that, does that make sense? Yeah, okay. Then what I did on every one of the funds is I went back to that sheet, the revenue neutral levy, and showed you what the levy would be here. If you look at the bottom of that right-hand column, it's $3,986,372. Based on the departments in the general fund and all that's happened on page 18, you would see that $3,986,372 would be the amount, if we left the general fund right like it is right now. We haven't looked at any departments, but based on what they talked to you about, we put the numbers in there. We left the revenues where I've showed you, they're pretty conservative, you would still levy 3.9862. The revenue neutral general fund, the way we had it up there, based on last year's levy, was 3,473,000. Okay? So, if, let's just take, and I didn't write this number there, but if you went back, let's flip back to page 9, you can see on page 9, if you look at the general funds levy dollars in column M, based on that 74 that I used here as an example, it was 3,969,000, and over here it's 3,986,000. So that just happened to be pretty close, you know, to the same amount. So that's kind of gives you an idea. It would be about right at 500,000, you know. And the general, you can move these levies around any way you want. You could go in and say, you know what, we're going to put 40 mils in the general fund and reduce all these other funds. I mean, that's an approach. It's not, just because I've got them this way doesn't mean you have to keep them this way, okay? But that's what I did on every one of these funds. I showed the revenue neutral rate, and then the levy would be the amount after all the departments are dropped in, okay? And then the next page, we'll see how that, and I didn't make any notes on here, so if you have anything on page 19, we start with the county commission, and what I might do is if you want to tell me anything that's special about any of these departments, I'm just gonna go through them fairly quickly here. So like the county commission, it looks like it stayed about the same on page 19. The county clerk, about the same. County treasurer, about the same. County attorney, a little increase, I'm not sure. Contractual looked like it increased last year and this year. Was it due to attorneys or something, or contracted attorneys?
Let me see if I,
Sometimes that happens in there.
let me pull up what they brought in. Because I put some notes
He
on
did
some
say
things.
something about
Yeah.
some special,
Special prosecutors.
basically, because there's a difference in the way things are being handled, and we have to come up with.
Got the water down the room. One thing that's really interesting, that I just give you a side note, that line right there can drastically change if there was a murder trial. I had this happen in Osage County. We had to add 200,000 to that line item because of a murder trial that happened in Osage County.
Truck wrecks.
Huh?
Truck wrecks right here in Marion County.
Yeah.
We had truck wrecks.
Yep.
It caused us to do the same thing.
Okay, anything, what do you think there?
Well, on the county attorney, the current contractual is 50, and he asked for 50.
Okay.
So.
So you only spent 28 and 20, but maybe there's something.
Yeah, and so, that varies a lot. A lot of what their
It does.
contractual is the same sort, we never know. Those sexual assault cases, how
That's right.
many of those you're gonna have, how many coroner calls you're gonna have. And so, he asked for the same amount as last year, but his main increase was on the salaries
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically the 20, or not 20, but about 15 or something. Yeah, 15. That's salary. Okay, we'll keep going. Registered deeds, not a big change. Sheriff Department, shows about the same.
On Sheriff Department, did you get the increase in salaries from Tina?
No.
Yeah,
Oh,
we sent all those, but I don't think he has
Yeah,
any of those
so,
numbers
oh,
plugged in.
I
So they're
didn't-
not- So our increase in salaries for some departments aren't plugged
Yeah, it looks like it. I'm not sure why that happened. Usually what happens is, and I'm not sure on this one,
Looks
is,
like it all increased.
in, but not on jail,
Sheriff.
sheriff.
okay,
Oh, so
Jones
this
would
is
have
on,
something.
it was on jail,
Right.
Commissioner Mueller, and so right now we're on sheriff.
Okay.
Jail is the
But
next
the
section.
sheriff still shows no increase in,
yeah, it stayed the same.
so that can't be.
Typically what happens, and I'm not sure what happened here because I wasn't in on the meeting, but typically what happens is we try to do all the budget except for personnel services, okay? Now, it looks like the county attorney may have got stuck in here, okay? But the reason that is because we try to get all the other line items to make sure they're where the commission or the department feels like they can operate. And then I can say, okay, here's the mill levy it's gonna take to fund that budget. And then what we do is we take all of her sheets that are personnel sheets, whether it's employee benefits or salaries, and we go in and say, here's what the total dollar impact would be to the budget. Not, without going to each fund, just saying, if we want a 1% or a 2% increase or cost of living, and then we go in and she plugs that in and we say, this would be the impact based on the mills. You know, that's, so we kind of keep that out of the picture. Now, in this case here, it looks like, just what she said, it looks like that got dropped in right off the sheet. I'm not sure why
I
the
think
sheriff.
I can say why. It's because most of the departments actually wrote the personnel number that we gave them in on their sheets.
Yeah.
The sheriff did not put anything in on
Yeah.
those sheets. So
Well,
they're
yeah.
probably just picking up from the department sheets, not from the payroll sheets that we
Right.
sent. Yeah.
'Cause I always, the reason I do that, it just muddies the water. If I put all the increases that people want in their personnel services now, we kind of have here a little bit. But if we wait and then we go in and say, okay, we're gonna put it at 2%, and then I drop all those in, it really shows you, here's what the budget was before personnel services, here's what the budget is now. That's, but I can do it different if you want me. Like on Monday, if you wanted by Monday to have all the personnel services dropped in, then I can do that.
All the personnel services is
At whatever rate you wanted to do.
for this year.
The rate
Next year,
is-
next year is basically the equivalent of 1 mil last year.
So basically what they've done, Scott, is that they implemented the new pay plan
Pay plan, okay.
effective this July. So some of our current air personnel numbers have been updated, most of them. And then that also includes a step increase for all employees in July of next year. So
So,
the numbers aren't gonna be based on a percentage, but we have the
On the pay
numbers.
plan. So as of 7/1 of 21, the new pay plan comes into play?
Yeah, so. for
So it'll
that-
be 6 months
For that
for
6 months
21.
is $70,000. The next year will be 140,
Okay.
roughly.
So, in the middle column, we'll have to go in and make those adjustments for the 70,000, and then we'll go in and make the $140,000 adjustment, the 2022. Okay?
Yeah, it's not quite as simple now as figuring just a percent.
Well, once you get it set up, once we get it set up, it's not, I don't think it'll be that.
Well, some departments have already put those numbers.
Yeah, they've already dropped it in
Some
there.
have not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Wait, so 171 I was off. Half the year.
171 total.
Yeah, half the year was 85, 70.
85?
Yeah.
Okay. 85 is half, is a 2021, and 2022 was 100 and...
71.
All month.
Oh, yeah, 171.
And that's just wages, that's the up here.
Yep. And then that does not include the impact of employee benefits.
Right, because we
That's just
figure
pay.
that separate.
Okay, so that would be plus employee benefits. Can you send that worksheet or something that shows that?
I just showed them one graph.
For Monday, they wanted.
We sent all the, Cherry sent all the
Is that
personnel
in there?
sheets.
Okay, I didn't know.
She's
Okay.
figured them all. I haven't had a chance to prove them yet, but she's figured them all, and they're included in those department sheets.
Okay, we'll go back and check those back.
I'm missing one for the sheriff. I do not have a personal.
Okay.
Okay, maybe that's why they didn't get it. Okay.
Stop looking up.
Okay. Okay, we'll try to drop, they must all be in except for maybe the sheriff, so we'll drop it in for Monday. So sheriff and jail, they don't look like a lot of changes.
Jail, wait a minute.
Oh, jail, 20,000, okay.
Okay, what does the board feel? You heard the man ask for 2 more people for the jail, correct?
Right. Wasn't it one more position just down one? I can't remember, that was kind of confusing.
Well, I,
No.
2 new
He,
positions.
he requested 2 additional jailers.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think that's the way Cherry's figured it, so we can at least see the impact.
okay.
And then, so when he puts that in, you can see, or we can not figure it that way. That's,
And that would start in 2022? Or start-
Yeah, I mean, that's to be.
Start right away.
Right away.
Oh,
If you can find them.
well, you'd have to put it on yet this year's budget. He asked for, this would be for 2022 is what he asked for.
That's what I.
So they wouldn't start till January,
It
and
should.
with those, are the jailers, I can't remember, do jailers have to go to the training in,
No.
like officers
No.
you have to,
No.
but jailers you don't?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Okay.
but that's two positions would be in personal services,
Yeah.
would be 35,000 or 40,000 apiece.
Yeah, yeah, those aren't, yeah, either. Okay. Anything else on the gym? Or just those two?
No, we just about used all the extra money that we had left now for, that was on the tax money,
Yeah.
you know, all of that, that's just about been used. They used it for some equipment in the jail.
Okay.
So, anything from now on is gonna be paid out of taxes or mill levy or something.
Okay. Okay, we'll keep moving then. Communications, anything I need to know there?
Remember anything big?
Okay. Flip the next page, page 20. Unless there's something up here that I didn't see any big changes, except I was wondering, boys stick in here the AS400 and all that stuff, it's been in there forever. Is that 50, there's nothing spent, or at least in that line item. I didn't know, when I was looking at this last night, I didn't know if computer operation and equipment, the 74 up there, is that separate of the AS400? I mean, that's not, there's.
Yes.
Okay. And then the lease purchase on the window project, I was trying, I didn't go back and dig it out, but is that
Seems like,
still getting
this
close
year.
on there?
I'll just pull the file out, it'd be easier.
Yeah, just see what, because that's about a $500,000, that's what I was just trying to. Oh, yeah, it'd be done in 21.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought it was
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, 5 years, 21, so that 83 where I've got year paid off, it looks like 2022
Might go to zero.
goes zero. So that's about a $500,000 based on 160 million, that'd be about a $500,000 you pick up there.
Okay, this is just a question. The
Yep.
one thing the commission is talking about is then another improvement project
Okay.
on the courthouse.
Courthouse?
The mortar tucking
Yeah.
and ceiling and stone,
So,
would that go into that slot if we do the lease purchase type of deal on it?
Oh, keep carrying it.
Yeah, that's rather than take it to zero, do you wanna leave some money in there for that
Well,
project?
I think we're gonna have to find some places to keep some money in.
And there's gonna be ongoing.
Well, I mean, just
major
based on a
repair.
revenue neutral
Right.
deal, we're going to have to, I mean, to keep something there.
I guess you don't use it, you don't call it window project.
yeah, we would, what you can do, there's a lot of flexibility here. So like you could just go ahead and put another line and say Tucking Point Courthouse and whatever that amount is in 2022, and let's just say it's the 83,000. You can
About
put-
storage
And then the
building.
flagpoles too.
Yeah, we need
Yeah.
to finance that.
Yeah.
No, but.
Or you
it
just
should
say,
be that one
you could just
line
say
item.
courthouse improvements
That's
and
what
be
I- that's
what I
generic, and be
would-
generic. and-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just improvements.
Yeah.
Whatever number you think's appropriate for that.
We'll have when I get done here, kind of knowing where you're at, that's what we'll do the next round, is we'll go through some of these line items and see, you know, do you want to put some money here, do you want
Okay.
to put some money here? What we're doing here kind of is just going through and getting us all on the same page
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And, I mean, it's kind of a methodical process. I mean, I'm an auditor and accountant, so I mean, you kind of have to go through
You didn't say nothing about those other auditors, did you?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't think so.
They're free thinkers. But
Yeah,
I kind of, being old as I am, I have to kind of go, yeah. Goodness. I thought I was bad. I went down to the bank and some of you didn't hear this, but I'm becoming the president of the bank in First National in Sedan, which is we own part of it. Follow my brother, he's 2 years younger than me, but he's got OCD and perfectionism, and it is unbelievable. It is unbelievable. I thought I was bad. Yeah, unbelievable. Okay, so courthouse improvements, we'll just put a question mark there, and then when we come back around the next time, we'll see how much we want to. Okay, emergency management. There, it looked like we jumped, I can't remember what, I was looking here. Vehicle replacement, did we ever buy
Yes,
that in
yeah,
2021?
yeah.
Okay.
I think I see it for the first time.
Okay, and then we're gonna start over again, putting the 5. One thing, David, here we've done kind of, anytime you see like and this is pretty consistent, but anytime you see a number over here, like where it says vehicle replacement 35,000 in the, what we started doing so that we kind of remember in these departments, like in this case here, we've been setting aside 5,000 a year for 7 years, and then we get to 35, and that's when we spend it. So there'll be some other ones like that. I'm not sure where they're all at, but we've tried to do that, kind of help everybody remember what we got going on there. So I guess we just keep doing our 5 for 2022, okay. Judicial, this is upstairs, and it's everything but salaries, because salaries are paid by the state of Kansas, so everything else you're responsible for there.
The purple binder.
Yeah,
I just had it up.
yeah. Economic development is zeros. Do you want me to just take that out of the budget, or you want me to leave it in there like zeros, or how do you? It's up to you.
TBD.
Do what?
TBD, to be determined.
Yeah,
That's,
TBD.
So
If we leave it at zeros, then nobody's getting upset and thinking we're gonna do something.
I don't know, I guess we haven't just sat and really talked as a board to discuss economic development. But you heard Tina talk the other day about, you know, she didn't have nobody actually sitting over here overlooking like the Kansas book that we just had put advertising in. Yeah, and some of that. Also, transient gas taxes, Marion has come in and
Created their own.
We can give them permission to create their own, so there won't be as much coming in on transient
Hillsborough
gas
has their
taxes.
own.
Yeah, okay.
Because they have motels and
Yeah.
things.
So that's gonna deplete too.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give you some encouragement here. You're not the only one who struggles with this. When the 2 new commissioners of the 3 took over at Osage, the first duty they did was actually fire the economic development director and shut down the department. So, across the state of Kansas, economic development is always a very hot item. I mean, just how do you do it? I mean,
Yeah.
McPherson does kind of a unique.
It's a
I mean,
thankless job.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
Well, McPherson kinda has a ball in their court too, when they can buy power at 3 cents a
Absolutely,
kilowatt hour.
absolutely.
Hey, that's economic development. Move your business here, we'll sell you power for 3 cents.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can leave it there, and then we can, I mean, always, if there, I mean, that way, if you wanted to drop something in down the road. Yeah, okay,
I think something needs to go in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
What do you think?
I think we leave it
Whether,
in.
whether we put money in to pay for billboards or something that says visit Marion County or something simple, not.
Maybe it's not so extreme.
They did that once and they're all laying on the ground.
Yeah.
I know where one is.
Well,
right
here's
now.
the thing, Chairman Gary, if you do that, that's fine, but then you've got to put somebody in charge of that, of who's going to be in charge of taking care of those billboards and
I thought the
you
county clerk
can,
did that.
you can also pay for billboards out of the transient guest tax. That would be a qualifying expense. On the tourism bit, I do have somebody in my office that I am intending to just have watch the emails, but that's about really, you know.
But I think Jonas, and he's coming in, because what Kent said is, we put some up 7, 10 years ago, and they're all
Rotted off on the
yeah,
ground.
they're gone. And so either we do something great, instead of halfway,
Well,
or
they're rotted off and on the ground. I'm trying to figure out what the
Poles.
heck did you guys put in?
Wooden, they put up wooden signs,
Wooden
wooden
signs.
posts.
wooden post signs.
It says welcome to Marion County or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
I can get you one if you like.
Yeah,
Laying up a pasture north of me.
I'd be interested in seeing what.
Yeah.
Wake up, it was
Wake Up, Wake Up.
to Marion County.
Yeah.
I don't know where they come up.
I don't
with
think
that.
I've ever seen that.
Like everybody's
so-
sleeping.
It's been prior to 2005.
It's been a while.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
probably
it's-
was.
No, it's been 2005 when I started, so.
I don't remember ever seeing it.
Yeah, before. It was right then, somewhere around there.
Well, for now, I'll leave it in there, and then if you decide to drop dollars in, we can. The next one, Road and Bridge, for your benefit, David, what happens here is, because roads is a big thing, so I'll explain it right here, okay? So, I don't even know what date that resolution was, but sales tax has an 80-20 percent that the sales tax can be used, 80% roads and 20% other. So where we've captured that at, the 80% is in this first line right there and the third line, because when Jack Bruner was here in probably about 2001, we decided to split some of that out to specifically pay for those roads that they had the bond issue for, okay? So what happened is, if you look at that sales tax number I have up there is 650, whatever that number is, we take when we finalize it, we take 80% of that, drop it in down here, and then split it between 7 mills transfer to capital outlay, which is the middle number, and 2 mills out of that 80% to be used to go directly to roads and upkeep of roads. Now, that's been going now, this will be, I guess, 20 years. 20 years it's been calculated that way. And so it all calculates based on whatever that sales tax number we use. I have not changed those yet because I don't know. I wait till you change the 650, or tell me where you want the 650. And then the 20% of that is on page 22. You get, and I don't have it circled or anything, but you see it right there in the middle of the page. It's 130,000, and it's a lot of different things. It could be either the loan payment from USDA radio project, pictometry, and then some of the other things you do, like for food bank or whatever. So that 20%, the 130,000, is allocated for other projects of the sales tax. And that's the way the original resolution was set up, I think. I don't even know what year that was for me, so it had to be. That was a long time ago.
That was before you.
Before me.
I didn't
yeah.
know there was life before
Yeah,
Scott.
Horse and buggy days.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's wrong.
You guys are funny. That's wrong. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so that's how that happened, and those numbers will change based on however the sales tax is. Now, in roads, that's the kicker there, is you have the roads here, you have the roads in the road and bridge fund, and you have special bridge. I mean, we'll talk about each one of those funds that has how you can spend it. Can you spend it just on roads? Can you spend it on bridges? Can you spend it on, that's changed a lot over the last several years. It used to be limited a lot, but now it's pretty well wide open. Okay, the next one, and these are, I just circled these because I wasn't sure if these were the numbers that you finalized, but it'd be the special fair, extension council's gone, because it has its own district now, soil conservation, mental health, and mental handicap. It looked like the same numbers as 2021, so I didn't know if you'd had those meetings with them yet or not, or
Well, yeah.
you had them? Okay.
Some, but not all. But I think, just speaking, maybe I'm out of turn, but the fair, I think we need to bump that number. They let us use the fairgrounds. I know we own the buildings, but they let us use the fairgrounds for all the COVID
Yeah.
response stuff. That would help them with their utilities and stuff for the time being that we were in there.
I would somewhat say something here is that I don't know what's happening to the co-op over there in the co-op building that we have our trailers in right now. But we saw it can be put in the other building, the building right there that we when we had COVID, we had the emergency management trailer out, and we just stuck it right in the fair building there. I don't know if the fair board's interested in entertaining taking that on in that building, and maybe even us putting in a new door on the other end so it could be a drive-through instead of back-end deal. Because you got two trailers, you got a white one, a red one, and you got some other little things, a light trailer and some other things to store. But I sort of think maybe a monthly rent, if they would take it on, but somebody's gonna have to go talk to them. I mean, we haven't sat down and talked to them. I don't know if they did come in and anything for budget, did they?
So the fair, they haven't come in for several years,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we've left their allocation the same. However, multiple times when they needed help on special projects,
Yes.
then they've come in and we've helped them with those projects. So they have not come and asked for an allocation.
I just think $250, $300 a month for rent on that. We're paying $250 right now to co-op. And
Transfer, which, I don't know how long that's living, because the countryside's doing all those improvements.
yeah, we don't know where
what's
it's going.
next.
And that's what I say, they could kick us out tomorrow and we wouldn't have no place to go. So that's why I think some improvement needs to be done on that. But if the rest of the commission feels like if they want to raise the amount of money to the fair, that's fine too. I don't know, but $300 a month, whether that helps them or, something to that effect, would that help them?
Would you wanna
Probably-
keep that
probably
rent,
ought to consider it.
would you wanna keep that rent separate? I mean, is it a separate payment, or do you want?
Yeah, I don't know, so you can monitor it or something, I mean, it goes to them.
We ought to have them come in once a year, just go over the plans and stuff, instead of them just coming in saying, we need to repair this barn, whatever.
We used to see the president about every year, but we haven't lately seen the president.
And we can contact them and ask them to come in and do a presentation if you would like.
I think that's probably something we need to do on an annual basis, is sometimes we don't even know who
But
the board members are.
To get Scott on down the road here,
I get Brandon to come in.
to get Scott on down the road here with this and get us moving here, just leave it the same right now, or do we,
Yeah, just.
Maybe leave it the same.
Leave it the same.
Yeah. so
Yeah, it's not gonna make that much
Okay.
difference, we can adjust that.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
And actually, one thing to remember here in the general fund is, let's just say the fair decided they needed $10,000 because whatever happened.
Yeah.
General fund, you can literally just go spend $10,000 and make it 26.7 in that year, and it doesn't matter, as long as you have budget authority and cash. Yeah, the general fund's very flexible. Okay, county councilor, just leaving that the same,
Just signed it again, so yeah.
Yeah.
okay? Then 21, got kind of put on a separate page here, planning and zoning. It went up, we had a vehicle again, our vehicle replacement, did that get done?
Not yet, she's going to this year, isn't she?
Well, told her to get on it.
Yeah, told her to get on it.
Yeah, okay, so that'll be spent in 2021.
As long as
Well,
we
If
can.
they can get it,
Yeah, it depends on the
Problem.
computer chips and all that stuff.
the order, it might be 6-7 months.
Might be December before she gets it.
I wonder if we need to put it in the 2022
Drop
column
it
just
over,
to.
yeah, we'll just put it authority, yep. So the way this works, like, if we have it in the middle column and we move it over to the 2022 column, we still have the authority and the cash to spend it in the middle column, but we also, by moving it over into the 2022 column, we have the authority to spend it in that column also.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on here. We got county administrator. I have two columns there. I wasn't sure what you want me to do with that. If you just want one column, or if you think anything's gonna happen in 2021?
I don't know. I really don't.
We're in research.
So I'd say leave it.
Leave it? Okay.
There's a possibility.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter, it's just, it's kind of like what you was talking about earlier, David, where it's in a sense cash carryover until it's spent.
Correct.
So, just because you haven't designated a county administrator in 2021, it's just a holding, it's nothing more than a holding
Holding that
pattern. Yeah.
plane's flying around, right?
Would you
Yeah.
potentially want to cut those numbers in half in the middle column?
Oh, because you're halfway through the year? Mhm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we could do that, I mean,
That'd
if
free
you
up-
wanted to, you could put it somewhere else, put it for courthouse improvements, or, you know, whatever you want to put it. And then the last part there, we've already talked about, that's a sales tax number, that's based on the 20%, whatever number we set up above. Okay, that's the general fund, any questions?
I mean, rather than just skipping over that, the county
Yep.
administrator, I think Tina's right, since it is halfway through the year, we can put that money.
so that would leave 70,000 available for this year if something happens.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But it does need to go somewhere else so that we
Okay.
can use it.
So you just cut each one of those line items in half, and,
Yeah.
and we'll put, what we'll do is, I mean, we can just put it over in courthouse or whatever, and then you guys can move it around however you want to later when we talk about it.
This is all the general.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you to back up one.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
On the sales tax percentages.
Yep.
Okay, you're figuring $650,000 for sales tax.
Uh-huh.
The 20%, the $130,000 number I can come up with. I can't quite follow the road numbers.
Okay, how that, okay, yeah, sure.
Because I don't come up with the other.
And the number may not match exactly because of the, I haven't sat down and done the, you know, the 80-20. But what happened is, the reason it was set up this way, so that, I'm just gonna go line by line. So the first line is sales tax 80% portion, okay, on page 20, I'm sorry, on
Right.
page 20, okay. that is not really the 80% because that bottom line is 80%. So if you added line 1 and line 3 together, if the numbers were all calculated right, that would come up to your 80% total.
That should be the 520. Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
it's the
First
first line and the third line,
Yep.
not the middle line.
That's right.
So then
Yep.
what's the middle line?
Okay, so when Jack, I mean, there was hours spent on this, but when Jack came up with that in 2001, how he thought it, and we did the bond issue, we had to come up with the mill levy that would help fund that bond and interest. So we actually went to the level of, I think we used all the authority that we had here without going over the debt limit to do the roads at that time in 2001. So we figured out what it would take to pay that bond and interest. And that's, 7 just was pulled out of the air. It was nothing, we just added 7 mills. And then the reason that 2 mills on that third line is we had to come up, we felt like there would be 9 mills to help fund that bond and interest, okay? So we took 7 mills and actually added it to the levy that year, which was a big jump. And then they took 2 more mills out of that sales tax, and so every year that number is rolling. So like if 2 mills this year, it'd be 320,000, okay, because it's 160,000 a mill. In the past, it'd be 280, and that's kind of what it is right now. 280 is the way it's showing.
Okay.
So those funds are transferred into the capital
Right, yeah.
Improvement.
Right.
Yeah, so like if you go back,
Right.
if you go back to page 35, so that you can kind of see the flow of this. If you go back to page 35, you have 2 lines in the top part, and this is a non-levy fund. This would be like a fee or a transfer fund. So that 280, 627, and the 982, 191, you'll see it show up there in the 2022, okay? And that number will change based on whatever we end up putting in mill levies. But that's how this has always been done. And then we have another sheet, which I could have it updated by Monday, because I don't know if we keep it, is a capital improvement 5-year plan. So what was happening when we set this up, and I've actually used this in a lot of governments across Kansas, is this is just the state budget form right here, okay? And all it's showing is just, when you come down here, road projects, 1.4 million. Originally, when this was set up, is the revenue sources would be coming into the Excel spreadsheet. It'd just be 1 page. And what it says is when you have a capital improvement fund, you have to have a 5-year plan in place, okay? So I was just trying to keep it simple. 1 page Excel spreadsheet, that's our plan. And it could change from today, by Monday, you could change it to another line item. So what we have in there is you got the revenue sources coming in, whether it would be the transfers in this case. Now, what I'm looking at with this rescue money is I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible, is that if that county wanted to, not for road and bridge, but this could be any capital improvement in the county. So if you wanted to understand what the capital improvements that county commission wanted to set up, you would have the 2 lines like this right here of sales tax 80 and 7, and another line, rescue funds. And so those rescue funds will be dropped into that same capital improvement fund. And then down below, what we did when Jack Bruner originally set it up is we put every one of those roads that was in that bond issue down the left-hand side of the expenditure. And then it was a 2-inch overlay. So what we did is over that, and I think we might even went out to 7 years, we would show how all those roads that were done in the bond issue were actually the years that they would have another 2-inch overlay, like in 5 years, 6 years, and all that. So that's originally how it was set up. And then we that money just sat there, and then sometimes we would do like 1 road, and because it got so expensive. So like, originally when we did it in 2001, I think 1 mile was 45,000, okay? Of 2-inch overlay. And now it's, I don't even know what
300.
Yeah, about 300,000. So that's why it got,
Just
that
didn't
worksheet just
We know.
kind of didn't work. But that's how it originally got set up.
Right. I remember that at the time, that's probably one of the best investments the county ever made. Those roads lasted
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
But I guess why I'm questioning it is,
Yep.
and now I understand the numbers and how it
Yeah,
flows,
uh-huh.
why it was done.
Yeah.
But is it practical to use a 20-year-old formula to fund roads that we don't have a plan?
No, and the
We need
reason,
to have a
the
plan
reason it
and
was
then set
selected,
up-
yeah, the reason it was selected that way, this was even before me, so this is probably early '80s. I don't know what that resolution date is, but that 80-20, that's just the way they just chose, because sales tax, well, you saw it on the jail over here, sales tax generates an incredible amount of money, okay? So like McPherson, when they got done with the Opera House, Tom Brown, and some of you know him because he comes over here to help in the past, he's a mayor, and so he immediately took and put in a 10-year plan, that sales tax that was going to the Opera House over in to do a rotation, because sales tax has such a high volume, especially if you've got people coming in and all that. Mill levy is not a great way to fund roads or, you know, bigger projects, because it's so, it just nails, you know, certain, I mean, it really could, you know, we haven't had it this year, but they talk about economic development. So when you have the highest tax rate, you know, and we got that, what, 2 years ago, they come in and made some kind of presentation on it. This here, this formula, one thing nice about capital improvement, you have to remember, even though it's transferred over there, the way the statute's set up, at any one day, I could take that one, or let's say at the end of 2020 is 4.8 million. It could be transferred right back to general fund and be used any way you want. There's flexibility there.
I'm not advocating any change, I'm
Yeah.
just trying to understand.
Oh, no, totally.
When we get to the capital improvement parts, then that's.
Yeah,
when-
absolutely, yeah. And you can use it, you can use it any way you want. I always tell that one sheet that I set up there, I do this now for a lot of entities, you know, where we have that, here's the projects. One week, it might be the water tower in Galva. We have some problems with the water tower, okay? The next week, the council may say, no, we don't want the water tower anymore, we gotta do, you know, this. And it could be changed because there's no tie down on that money,
Very good.
okay?
Thank
Yep.
you.
Because, you know, you're so limited on financing vehicles anymore.
Yep.
We did have a couple years ago, it was when Roger Fleming was on, so maybe about 5 years ago. I think it was when Roger Fleming was on that. We put on 2 additional mills on that. We had 9 mills that 1 year go into capital improvement, and then it dropped back down the next year. So,
And there's nothing magic for that number.
Sure.
That number was picked, it was just a number was picked out of the air to make it work in
Well, at the
2001.
time, yeah. It was, again, it was a fantastic project.
Yeah.
Okay, answer that question.
Okay. Let's see, that's the general fund unless you got any more questions. Do you need a break or are you okay? Everybody okay?
Yeah, whatever, we need to take one here sometime next 10 minutes. or
This
15.
is a good time
This
because
is a good time.
a good time because on page 24, we're gonna start with road and bridge.
Oh, yeah, we need a break.
Not really, because, you know, Road and Bridge yesterday was seamless. I really enjoyed that, you know, that typed out report, boom, here it is.
Well, it actually stayed on topic that way too,
Oh,
yeah.
instead of coming in to
We're
give a report.
an hour behind.
Well,
It was
Yeah.
perfect.
I'm gonna put a topic on the agenda for our next meeting, because we're not legal for stuff today, we can't do legal.
Right.
But what I'd like to ask the commission here, just a nod of heads, do we wanna save some money on the air conditioner for the ambulance building? I've got to tell Travis some answer. The same thing's going up 15% on air conditioning as
Oh, purchases, you mean?
yeah, so, just sort of,
What
Heads
kind
up.
of, what kind of cuts are they trying to do? What are they trying to?
well, they want to order the equipment.
Go ahead, order it.
Order the equipment.
Oh, they want to get it.
Yeah, and so I'm just doing a nod ahead, and I'll put it on the agenda, but if nobody wants to nod ahead anyway, why, well,
Put it on the agenda.
You're saying we gotta pull the trigger before the price increases?
yes, yeah.
We don't- Yeah, we don't wanna have another special meeting on every item that comes up.
That's a no-brainer.
July 1, price increase probably.
Huh? That's the
July
reason,
1.
that's the
Yeah.
reason, price increase going up. He wants to order it, get it ordered, so.
You got supply-
Think
supply
about it a little
chain
bit, let me
issues.
know, then I can get an answer back to Travis.
and don't let me forget, we need to figure out for sure what time your meeting is gonna be Monday, because I had set it up with Scott at 9, because that's what you all
Oh.
talked about.
Then we,
And then
We
I
changed
think
it
you
to
might be
12:30.
going to 12:30, so we need
Okay.
to make sure everybody knows what we're
okay.
doing.
You had poor old Henry really confused.
Just tell them to come in twice.
No, he'll call me.
Take 5 minutes.
He'll call me,
and then come back.
9-4. What time? That's fine.
Good timing.
Yeah.
It's blank and a zero.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Here's the information US.
Okay.
And the J.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's a lot different than you look back 10 years ago. What's on the board is your sales tax up to date current.
Oh,
Actually, he
okay.
just-
Year after
he just
year.
set that one.
And
Page of the
we've always
fund
played it
that shows
conservative,
the
like Scott
share
said,
fund thing. That would be good.
but you can look at the current so far, what's accepted this year.
You can see down there in the gray.
So that's our sales tax, Scott.
Okay.
As of today, Scott.
Well, through May, the end of
Yeah.
May, that's the most recent we
Yeah,
have.
we haven't got June's in yet, but we need to go up a little bit. I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying we need to go up some.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're up about 19,000 even over last year, as of right now.
Wow.
At least do it.
Like,
Yeah.
not as
Because
far as the
everybody's clicking off
same
the
time
internet
frame.
now, you know.
Yep, that's true.
Like, we're paying sales tax in probably 20 different states,
That's amazing.
which our county loves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it busy.
Because nobody has a program for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott, for the break. It's your court.
Okay, so let's start on page 24. 23 was really easy. Okay, so how this road and bridge fund works, it's your second largest fund, pretty close to almost to the general fund. The number I've got there on 24, what that is the state fuel tax money, and we get that as it's an estimate we get out of the League of Municipalities. And so I'm not sure if did that get updated for 2022, because the number's the same as 2021?
No.
Yeah, so we'll have to update. It won't be a big change, but it'll be a little bit. And then one thing I didn't bring up earlier, so that for David and everybody here, is if you go down at the bottom of that page, you see a number 36608. And what that is, just so everybody's on the same page, you'll see that number in every fund. So if you hold your finger on 24 and go back to 43, this is the neighborhood revitalization numbers, and it goes to every levy fund. And this started probably 15, 20 years ago?
2006.
2006, you came out in 2005? Okay, so 15 years ago. And so what this is down below there, you'll see the 160 million, and then you have the amount of neighborhood revitalization subject to rebate, so it's based on a percentage, and then it's based on the mill levy. And so this is kind of I went on and stuck them in here, but if the mill levy changes in any fund, this all changes, you have to go back and change it. So that's where that, over on 24, that's where that 36608
Yep.
and how it's calculated. I usually don't adjust that until the very end because it's too many calculations to change. If you go to the next page, on page 25, you see a circled number there. That is the cash carryover, which is, if we go back to that same rule of thumb, you look at the bottom of 2020, which would be the first column, you have 1.7 million. That's in the road and bridge. The next one dropped to 431, and then the next one dropped to 5,000. Now, to get this 26 million, I mean, I left it in here, but if you look, the actual ad valorem tax levy would be 30,660,000. You see that if you left in the 26 million on page 25. So go to the next page, and this is where the departments are broken out. I looked through all these lines. I mean, all the lines look pretty similar. Well, I just noticed, I don't think that road project got removed out of there, because it's not, Tampa's, see, it
Paid off.
It paid off in 2021.
I believe it's this year, yes.
Is it 2021? So that'd be another 223,000. Let's double check. Yeah, so it might have been paid off, yeah, last year maybe. I think it was paid off last year. So we'll look at that and make sure that it gets taken out of there. So that would be about 500,000 if it's both years. The 26 million I left in there. The other place that was a bigger jump in the 2022 is if you go down to gravel roads, commodities, we spent 1.5 million in, it's just a little bit below the 26 million there. We spent 1.58 million in 2020. I have 900 in the middle column and 1.3 there, and that 1.3 is probably the way they showed it. I think all the other line items are pretty common to where they've been in the past, so.
That payment did pay off last year, so
Yeah.
that gives us another 450.
Yeah, so that 223 doubled will get added somewhere, somewhere in some line there.
Is this appropriate time to talk about these?
Yeah, just
items?
anything's on the table, yeah.
Well, one of the big things, biggest phone call I get constantly every time around is rock roads.
Yeah.
I would really like to see a push for more gravel. I know he's increased the expenditures were almost 1.6. The budget was 9. We have a new budget of 1.3. I would really like to see that number go up. And I don't know, Ken, maybe it'd be better to put in contractual, or maybe it needs to be split, because it's gonna be contract hauling is where that's gonna come in.
Yeah.
It needs,
And we're
but
gonna-
we need to make a significant push in contract gravel hauling. I mean, that's just my opinion.
I don't think we have any choice.
Well, I will say the improvements that were made in 2020, that expenditure of gravel went a long way. But you can't take care of 20 years in 1 year.
And some of that, and you can update me here, but what's happened here, and this has happened in a lot of governments, is the I get these right, the fall of 2018 or 19, I can't remember which one it was.
Flood.
18?
19 floods.
19 floods. So a lot of that FEMA money has still not been
Right.
reimbursed.
Yeah, we got it.
And I don't know if we've even done anything here. Is
Yeah,
that?
the application's been sent in.
Yes, and, okay.
The last thing we got was, they may not pay for any federal level 2 roads or greater, which means they would pay only for dirt roads, which makes no sense, so they had to have it backwards.
Because I know that's sometimes as much as 500. I know 1 year in May of 2019, one of those years, they put rock on the same roads like 3 times, I think it was.
Yeah, we did.
Well,
Which-
we did.
Yeah.
We just had it.
I know that
We got a 2019 flood, we got a
Yeah.
21 flood.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we can try to move around however you want here. I mean, that's
It's up
a.
to the group, but I would.
Oh, yeah,
I would
that's
sure
that's
advocate.
always been, I mean, ever since I've been involved, I mean, it's not just here, it's any county I work with, they have a challenge.
Sure advocate for
What's a rough estimate now of a mile of gravel? Like if you're wanting to,
200 ton?
No,
It's
probably
300.
3 to 5. 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
it.
3 to 5.
and what's the hauling and the price of gravel for a ton?
Well, it just depends if we use local gravel.
Yeah.
If we use the really good stuff,
Yeah, well,
you know,
it's,
then
by the time you haul, what is it, $16 a ton? You figure in hauling, $24 a ton, I think, if you're pulling the good stuff.
we have to go all the way to eastern Kansas to get that.
But I was just down Falcon last night, and when water run over the road, and all that, it is in good shape. It's holding up real nice.
The hard road.
Barely any potholes in it.
We're at about,
Yeah. Just
We
south
did
of-
experiments on
or
roads,
just-
and those
just
roads
south
seem to
of
be
Memphis.
holding.
Holding up
just
pretty.
south of Memphis. There wasn't no rock
So
hauling.
$25
Well, there's-
a
there was some rock.
mile?
Or north.
No, a ton,
Yeah, north of
$25
Memphis,
a
yeah.
ton,
So it'd
and
be
it
that
takes
300.
300,
Yeah,
yeah,
You can tell it was
okay.
washed
Yeah,
over.
so you can
They
see how many
put
dollars
some
it
limestone
takes.
rock Back on it, right there. But
Probably more than what it
didn't
used to
look
like.
it was, Yeah, washed out.
7,500 a mile,
It just looked like they put top.
is that right?
Yeah,
300
top back
times,
on
yeah,
it.
7,500 a mile. And then how many?
75,000.
What, did I not do that right? Okay, maybe I just said 30, hold on
Yeah.
here, yeah.
And then how many miles, how many
Let's say,
miles? would
see,
we-
300 ton times $25 would be $7,500 per mile. So
900
70,
miles.
and how many miles did you have to travel?
Well, that's
900 is too many, but yeah.
Yeah, so we're looking.
800
six-
to gravel.
800 gravel?
Yeah.
So 800. Oops.
It's 800 gravel?
Yep. I mean,
No, 600.
Oh, 6.
600, I believe. Okay,
Yeah.
Says
you
800.
got it.
Yeah.
800 miles gravel road.
$6 million.
He does all the calculations, but he doesn't have.
$6 million divided by 160,000 is 37 mils, or 38 mils.
That's just gravel, and
That's just gravel.
that's not spreading it out.
Yeah. That's just the hauling and getting the gravel in.
Dumping.
Yeah. And then you all would do, I mean, that would be a cost to your, and you couldn't even, I mean, how many miles could you do with your personnel? Graders and personnel, maybe,
Well, that 25 was hauled already.
That's
yeah, but I mean, spread, it would.
Oh, spread it out.
Yeah, like when you spread it and you
We
put
don't
it-
have enough manpower.
Yeah, that's what I mean, you'd have to. So what's this, just, I mean, I'm just asking questions. What-
Figured at 200 miles.
So 200 miles, could you spread that in a year? I mean, from March to, or whatever, April to.
I'd be pushing it.
April to
Well,
October?
the other thing is the contract haulers are using belly dump
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It's on the road spread.
It's on the road,
Yeah.
and the maintainer has the section, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So it can be physically done.
That could be done.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just trying to figure out the logistics of even if you had it.
If you had enough money to do it,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Because that's in any plan, you know, if you couldn't do it all in 1 year, then you try to figure out, it's kind of back to that 5-year
Right.
thing like I back in 2001. You look at it and say, okay, in the next year, here's what we want to do and here's the roads.
Right.
And then you go down to year 2, and I mean, I think you could go through and, of that 800 miles, and you could say, and then you have that rotation.
Right.
But it's just a matter of,
Then you got that 100-year rain,
yeah.
that comes twice a year
5
now.
year, yeah.
And then every gravel road is different. You have gravel roads that
Yeah.
have 50 semis a day going on.
Oh, absolutely.
Cattle trucks.
Yeah.
And then you have the gravel road that's a mile and a half, of just one little old
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah.
Just drives a car.
Yeah.
So
Just can't have a good comparison.
you gotta average. balance out.
Yeah.
So
I mean-
anyway, I don't know if that
It
can
really
be brought
is.
up under capital improvement.
No,
We'll
we
come
can
back
bring
to
it up
this.
at this point because Road and Bridge, as you've already seen, there's part of it in the general fund.
Mhm.
There's, okay, so let me just show you that real quick here, if I can figure it out here. Give me just a minute. See what the best place to show this.
I think one thing you're saying though, Dave, is we've been over budget for the last 2 years.
Budget for it.
And so,
Need to raise
you
the
know,
budget.
you're looking to try coming up with a number that is acceptable,
Right.
where we can live with it in the budget, not go over the budget.
Right.
You know, to do all the roads, we know we can't do that. But I think some priority roads needs to
Yes.
be put down, not just by one person's decision.
Right.
And where we all agree on some priority roads and start somehow to get some.
But they have to have the material to be able to do it.
Yeah.
So I agree it's on the right path. I think that was a real good investment in previous years, but it was over budget. Let's budget for it, make it a priority, commit to it.
Okay, so if you wanna write this on the Road and Bridge, fund, it'd probably be the best place to put it. I'm gonna tell you, so we have the general, I'm just telling you where all the places I know that the Road and Bridge is spent out of. So we have general, we have the Road and Bridge, which you're writing on there. We have the spatial bridge. We have the special road machinery and equipment fund.
Yeah.
And all that is lease purchase, like, lease purchase or purchase of equipment that goes for the road and bridge. And then we have the capital improvement fund. So that's special bridge and equipment, special equipment, and then, yeah, and then the capital improvement, okay.
5.
Yeah, and it used to be there was about 8. And they were all, the reason there were so many of them is because at that time, each fund was given a levy. So you'd have a 2 mil levy on the special road and bridge fund, you have another 2 mil levy on the special bridge fund, and they can only be used for certain things. Now that's all kind of went away. So these funds, there's really no reason these funds are the way they are, that's just the way they are. And
Blacktop roads used to be in there, you know, and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay, so, yeah, just, if you wanted me to, if I knew, I mean, I could take that capital improvement one-page sheet, if I knew and let's just make it simple here, if I took the 800 miles, and let's say you start with the most used roads, the ones that are key to the county, and we figured out what that breakdown was, let's just say it was 150 miles was that, and then I just dropped them in on that Excel spreadsheet, 150 miles the first year, maybe you do another, maybe it's just 150 miles, whatever that number is, maybe you do 150 miles a year, figure out what that cost would be based on what the numbers you just told me, and then we spread them and say, okay, to the public, the reason I like that one page, because the citizens, if they ask, well, what are you doing for the roads, or what are you doing for the big things in the county, I can give them one page, and it pretty well shows them without the details. So, I don't know, do you have a? is that what
No, I don't think I've ever had that, Scott.
You
I
never
think
had
that's
that?
always been
What was
yours.
that total dollar one? On the 800 miles?
Oh, 6 million.
6 million,
Yeah,
6 million?
yeah. So if you divide that by, if you divide by 4, that's 1.5 million. And that's about what you spent in gravel road, 1.5 million last year, and I don't know, that's just gravel.
So that would fit into a 5-year plan. 5-year
Well,
plan,
and
revolving.
again, I'd like the road engineer to be involved.
Oh, absolutely,
But
yeah.
I mean, just rough numbers of
Right.
what we would like.
Oh.
I like the idea of having an improvement plan, setting a timeline, setting some goals.
Absolutely.
And that then we can justify, as Scott said, we can justify to your expenditures.
But
And that's always gonna change. It's always gonna change.
I wanna alert you, just because capital improvement's up there, there's been 2 commissioners sitting here that's come in and asked for roads to be done. The 10-year went on, the commissioner down on the end was over on that side of the table when we spent the Tampa Road project. And he was an advocate, pretty
And-
strong advocate of,
Yes, and I found the funding source for that too. Through KDOT.
it come up, I don't know how it come up, Dave,
Yes,
but it
I
did.
found the revolving fund through KDOT.
Yeah, well, and that's come through, but what I'm getting at is then we come in and 3/30th, we had money sitting here. And capital improvement is money that you can, like you said earlier, Scott, can go back to general if it ever needs to. We've got one road that I'm worried about, and that's Nighthawk, or not Nighthawk, Indigo. I'm just, I mean.
We're gonna get to that. yeah.
Okay,
It's
I'm
coming up.
just, it's coming up, and I just want you guys to maybe
It's not
think.
just Indigo either.
No, but
That's
it's the highest traveled one.
This
that's
is a
gonna be-
big discussion we need to have.
Yeah,
Okay.
the blacktop roads too, we already know.
Yeah.
The amount of dollars it needs, what is it, years out in order to facilitate that, it was impossible. It was impossible to maintain all the blacktop roads we've got.
Well, the other thing is now, just like on the Nighthawk 330th, we were significantly leveraged with grant funds from the state. Well, I think we can do more of that, and Randy was right, we shot too low on Indigo, we needed to increase our cost share on that.
We
And
did.
even if we get 50%, that's 50%.
50%, yeah.
And I was holding out for more, and I should
Yeah,
have done that.
even if we have to go borrow some, I
But,
would.
I mean, even if,
I don't know if we've got that.
I don't know if you've got anything.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's one of them deals, you never know till you try.
you gotta have letters of support from the community.
Yeah, yes.
Those roll
So
down.
what would we have to do to float a whole issue?
Right here's probably, person, maybe, right here's 2 of them that would get us float bond issue.
Dave Arterbury, who's worked with you
Right,
before,
yes.
I've been working with him on bridges and all that at Osage County. I mean, it's just a matter of having him come talk to you. He can give you all, the one sheet that he did for you, I think I'll probably have it somewhere. I can get it to you on Monday. He did for you the 6 different ways to fund a project. And it's you know, they're just different, and that was the tax lid. So I would call him and say, Dave, now the tax lid's gone, how does this change, you know? And some of it's sales tax, some of it, you know, and that was for, what were you doing at that time when you came in here to talk about that? Was that
So
the-
when we were talking about doing the sales tax.
On the building or something?
For the-
Extra building?
I think it was for the transfer station.
Oh, yeah, it was on the
And then we
transfer
didn't go
station.
that way.
But that was the handiest little sheet that I've used that thing so many times. 'Cause
You're right, Tina.
Yeah, it was the transfer station, that's right. But we could tell him, I could just call him maybe over lunch hour and just say, Dave, you know, could you send Tina your little handy dandy sheet for what it would take if it's roads, and our roads might be a little bit different, but he could get it to us, and he's very reliable. So I mean, I'm not an expert in that. I mean, I just, whatever they tell me the number should be, and you know, we put it in the budget. But he would be able to help us with that if you want me to.
You know, we need to know what avenues we would have.
Yeah.
He's a good person for that, yeah. The sales tax deal, that was something, because we didn't have and/or.
Yeah,
We got shut down because of and/or. I mean, we
We
didn't
want
have
to
and/or.
transfer this jail tax over.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
same type deal
But then there was a little bit of wording in there.
that wording caused the problem. Where we wouldn't be funding it, it would be on sales tax, half-cent sales tax, half-cent sales tax.
Okay, so let's just, make sure I've got these numbers right, so, and then I'll talk to David, but, 800 miles of gravel road, and it's, the way I figured it was $25 per ton, and that's maybe a little bit high, but it's the good stuff,
Yeah.
times, 300 tons per mile, and that equals 7,500. 7,500 times 8 was the $6 million. Let's do the same on blacktop. So, how many blacktop miles do you have in Marion County?
Maybe I'll reinvent the wheel. There's his 5-year plan on gravel roads, and the grand total, I think it's like 7.
Oh, we may have this. Is this from the
This from the road and bridge.
road and bridge budget? Yeah. Okay.
It was in the budget, it was,
Well, it's his
yeah,
road and bridge 5-year plan.
Okay, I definitely, we need to have him involved in the conversation. I was just trying to get some
Right.
rough numbers here. So if we get, let's just say 6 million is the number on gravel, and on blacktop, this is just gravel here, is that right?
Yep, that's just
Okay.
gravel.
Okay, so yeah, I might get a copy of all that later. So then, like, how many miles just roughly was their blacktop?
Get to the summary page. 182.7,
182.7.
and the grand total of 24,130,000.
Okay.
And
And
this
that's-
is from 2019.
Okay.
so then 10%.
Actually, here's an updated one, 2021, let me give you this one.
Okay.
193.7, we added 10 miles.
193.7, oh, you got some miles there.
And 26.8.
Oh, 26.8, that's where you're coming with the,
Average,
yeah, that's where we got the 26.
I was looking at 2019,
Okay.
this is 2020.
Knock off 20.2 miles, because those are getting repaired right now,
Of the 193?
I think, right? So we're talking about
Yes, and also we got some other roads that are.
that have just recently been repaired. But it still doesn't matter, we still gotta get a revolving number, because those
Right,
roads are gonna
right.
come back.
Yeah, Sean is exactly right.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
26 million rotating number.
So if you take the 26.8 and divide it by 193, I get 138,358. Is that 2-inch overlay or?
It
is that-
varies again, so you've got all the way from 4 to 6-inch overlay down to chip seal.
Oh, so this is both chip seal
Yeah,
and blacktop,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Yeah.
So that that's kind of a meshed together number of
Yes.
138,
Yes.
So blacktop, you said was 300,000 a month?
Yes, I call it hard surface.
Hard surface,
So,
okay.
chip seal, asphalt.
Okay, and that's a 2-inch overlay, or is that for 300,000, was that a?
Broke down.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, 6 to 8, yeah, okay. So anywhere from 2 inches, 210 up to 425, okay.
So, basically a good average would be, what, 300?
Yeah, okay. And that's 2 inch, okay. Tell you a funny story, so I don't know if I told this here or not before, but in 2001, this was I'd never seen this before and I've never seen it since. Coke aggregate decided they're gonna pull a good one on Marion County, so they come to the meeting and, Coke, when they go somewhere, they don't mess around. They bring in the big boys. But they come in here and they said, you know what? I think we could make this work in Marion County if we just lease purchased all your roads. I said, oh, okay. I'm thinking lease purchase in government is, what you're saying is that if you don't have the money in a lease purchase contract, there's a clause that has to be put in there. It's called the non-appropriation clause. And the non-appropriation clause says that if you don't have the money in your budget to pay for it, then you don't have to pay for it. I said, so if Coke does all that and you put all that money up front like that and you fix all the Marion County roads and we don't have enough to pay for the budget, how are you gonna take a road back? Because we're gonna set up booths on every mile. That was the story in 2001. Toll booths on every mile. Like, oh, okay, I guess that would probably work. Be some mad citizens, but anyway, I'd never heard that before. They actually had all the numbers generated, what it would be to at least purchase the roads. I mean, to do what you're saying, the 26 million, and fund it over a 7-year, 8-year period, or whatever, 10-year period. And
Toll booths on Nighthawk.
anyway, I got sidetracked there.
When the trucks come through that aren't supposed to be going through there,
Yeah.
that's what's killing us.
Okay, so I have blacktop, blacktop is really chip and seal and blacktop.
Correct.
Yeah.
Hard surface.
Yeah. Okay, and then gravel. Yeah, I mean, I could start with that one sheet and say, and then we could have the engineer come in, we could just take that one sheet and then he could, or I could give it to him and he could, it's kind of based on these numbers and just see if it's even feasible. And then I could get with David, call him and just say, on roads, what's your sheet look like for roads? This was, transfer station, but and he would be able to give me that. And then you could look at, is it sales tax, is it ad valorem tax, or a combination of both, to fund it. I mean, at least you have numbers and over a 5 to 7 year period. And Jonah's right, I pushed Jack back then is, I mean, you can get, and really that's what kind of happened. You can push.
I mean, this is the only thing I could find. I didn't find his one-page sheet, but this is about how much you can, how to do the road bonds.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Let's see here, where was I headed with that?
You push Jack to.
Oh yeah, I was pushing Jack. I said, Jack, this is thank you.
And then it all comes back.
Yeah. It's sad when you get 60 and you start your mental capacity starts. Huh?
You're 60.
Yeah. Start falling apart. Well, thank you. That's a very kind comment today. I will take that. Did that get recorded?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it's
Awesome.
been
I'll use
recorded
that.
in 2 places.
Give me that clip later and I'll use it.
It means you got 20 more years for the county.
Well, I was just telling what Ken said when I walked in the first time. He was the commissioner. He goes, "You're still practicing?"
You don't know how far you go back. 1987.
Yeah, 1987 at the bank. I went over and audited his bank.
You and I
Okay.
counted cash together.
Okay, so what I could do is I'll give it to David, and maybe he might even have something that kind of shows damage. I mean, he might have something that he can present to you. Is that, are you interested in something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
So where we would
We need to
take,
know
so
what
what we'd have,
options.
the way I always look at a project is, okay, here's the engineer's calculations over here and all they gotta do. But you've got the other side of it here, you gotta figure out the feasibility of how you're gonna pull off the dollars. And so, I could check, Dave and I think we could come up with something between that one-page sheet and what he does. I don't know if I can have it done by Monday, but we could have it definitely done by the next week, and then we could, when I get it done, then we could give it to the road engineer, and, then Bryce. And then we could kind of go from there, and then we could have a presentation to you all. Would that make sense?
Good.
Because everything, when I looked through this budget last night, I don't see anything that really jumps out except for the roads, and that's always kind of the way it's been. It's always been kind of that way. Okay, I could, and if I had any questions on his sheets, we can get those, or have some of them. I don't know, did those come over, his road plan?
Yes.
Did that come over? Okay. Any other questions that you might have to help me work through that?
Well, just put a reasonable number on blacktop projects,
Yeah, I started
26.
using my red ink.
Yeah.
Across the-
Yeah, I've got kind of a blue aqua today. I always have when they get my red pen out, they don't like it. So, yeah, I
They
brought
don't give you
blue.
one.
Huh?
They don't give you one.
No. And I didn't finish my thought there. We got to talk about dementia or whatever you want to call it, but,
Can't remember.
yeah.
All I can remember is the
So,
man had black hair when I first met him
Yeah.
15 years ago, and he don't have anymore.
yeah, my wife.
Man, I think I'm the nicest commissioner in this room. You guys are mean.
Yeah. I got thick skin. Anyway, so what I told Jack, I said, Jack, this is great vision, and dream of, this is what the roads are, 48, I think it was on 48 miles that they did, 2-inch overlay. And, this is great, but if we don't maintain it, and that's why we come up with that 5 to 7 year, just keep it going. So you gotta have something that's sustainable. That's the whole problem, in anything like with roads. If you don't have sustainability, it doesn't, you can go spend 2.2 million at that time or whatever it was, and now you can go spend 26 million, but if you don't have a plan, it's more than just a plan today or 5 years, it's what's the future look
We're
like.
gonna see what's feasible on a revolving plan, because then we know how many miles that have to be they just can't be blacktop.
But what's nice about the Tampa project is 10 years down the road now, it's still drivable.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
not patched up, it's not beat up too bad. It had a good base. And
That was
it's got
that was a good base, and then that was like a
6
6
inches.
inch, wasn't it?
6
Yeah.
inches.
Oh, semi-traffic is just
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah, it
It is heavy traffic.
We're gonna build it to highway standard.
Yeah.
It's the only access to state highways. Good project.
Okay, so let me ask another question here. To be able to do all this, there's gonna be some contracting and there's gonna be some done out of your own. This is, I'm just gonna tell you something here that since I started here, and this is not just this county. So if you look at and I'm not trying to get Bryce or anybody else in trouble here, but if you look at the road and bridge, my brother-in-law runs Boots Earth Moving, which is, they have a lot of big equipment, and they're not as big into it as his dad was, but that's something I really learned from them. They were very good at monitoring their hours and making sure, should they have a cat sitting on the yard, or should they just go rent that cat, And that's something I've always thought about in the road and bridge here. If you pull off something like this right here, and we kind of talked about, Jack and I talked about this quite a bit back there, is what's even feasible, not just sustainability over the years, but what's feasible to even pull off with the road and bridge department you have, from the employee standpoint, the equipment standpoint, whether it's rent or you own it, or do you contract it? And I don't know the answer to that, but I'm sure that there's a contractor, because my brother's small compared to some of these, but there's a contractor that has a model. And to me, if you really want, it's not just about putting the road together, it's about how do you, and Bryce may have that answer, I don't know, but how do you put together that department so that you can not only sustain this with money, but you sustain it with, people and equipment. And because, it doesn't take long to use up a bunch of your money in the special machinery fund to buy equipment or rent equipment, or, so that's a piece there that we've never tackled here. We've never tackled from the standpoint of the number of hours on that piece of equipment, if it's just like the hoe. If a hoe's sitting there, it's a $500,000 piece of equipment.
Right.
Do you have it sitting there because you need it all the time? I mean, those are things like that that I've always thought about them over the 30-some years here, but, you know, I don't know that we've ever really managed that part of it.
The boat mag right now is one example, is Marion County bought a new one back 30 years ago,
Yeah.
and it's shot now, I mean, it's old, but to buy one now is over $1 million. I was up around $1 million. We tried to find a used one a few years back, and we decided not to buy it because we figured it'd be setting more than it would be used.
Yeah, 'cause you have to monitor. I was telling my brother-in-law, I talked about this quite a bit back when he bought it from his dad, but you know, how many hours do you use that thing in a year? So like if you only use it 30, it's not worth setting 400,000 sitting there. Or if you use it 3,000, now that's a different
Too much
Well-
capital locked up.
Road rebuilding and base has changed. It's completely changed from 10, 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
To me, the boat mag's out the door, that thing's paperweight. You need to go with the cement stabilization. You hire a contractor come in that knows what they're doing, like they're doing on Nighthawk, and you'll have a good base that'll last you.
But that boat mag machine is being used down there too. I mean, they're using something, it's newer.
Oh, but it's not our boat mag.
No,
ours is
there's
just
a
slow.
new one, yes.
Ours is Garden.
hadn't
Yeah,
been used
yeah.
since
County
I've
owns
been
a
on the
garden.
commission.
Yeah.
For something like that, you hire a contractor to come in with the right equipment,
Yes,
the right
absolutely.
people,
Yeah.
and that's the way I would envision any of the major road projects, that's all contracted. Our road department is more for maintaining gravel roads and doing the patch.
You know, it really is an interesting, my other brother-in-law is Boats Parga. You've seen them, their trailers all over the place.
You got a lot of relatives there.
Yeah, they're all contractors and
They're everywhere.
Good old Al.
Yeah, they're big. I don't say anything about them because they're 6'5" and
Yeah.
400 pounds. But anyway, that didn't get recorded.
Yeah, it did.
Twice.
But
That is what we're
it's
doing.
really interesting to sit down to Al because Al's studied this a lot. He has the concrete side, you know, and how you do a road and how you do, because he does literally all over the Midwest. But it'd be interesting to have that conversation with somebody like that, you know, and maybe that's what you've done with Nighthawk. But he was telling me one day that we were visiting and how much it's changed since what it used to be. Yeah.
But again, I just see the days of Marion County going in and
Yeah.
grinding up a road and building a base. No.
Yeah, it would seem like it'd be at some point, and that's happening in all businesses, is where all you're doing is kind of oversight
Right. I
and
mean,
management.
to the point of hauling gravel.
Yeah.
That's to the point that, you're business-wise,
But
you're.
it's easy to see where we're headed, you know,
Right.
you look at our equipment list,
Yeah.
and you think, oh, we got some pretty good stuff. Wait a minute, it's all got 10,000 hours on
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Where did this 10 years go?
And, you know, we have, you know, the stuff we're buying now is all on lease purchase, and when that's done, we can roll it. You know, whereas before, I guess we basically run it until the wheels fall off.
Well, it was save
And
some,
then you
save
get
some
the
and
van.
try to buy one. Save some and try to buy one.
What's that scary you got there?
There you go. Another good topic.
This is impressive. The motor grader works.
So basically, the only one that I thought was feasible was the bottom one down there. Down.
This one?
Yeah. But I don't know.
Bryce brought that up.
Yeah, Bryce.
Okay. 336,000 per 2 units. Is that what that's saying?
You
Then
see
the
on the
payoff,
very
yeah, then the payoff here.
bottom,
Yeah.
where it revolves. And then that way it doesn't get too out of whack. Where you can
So
still
they
maintain it
rotated
300, less
rotate
than
after
400.
6 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're constantly
12.
leasing one, you're pulling one in.
So the maximum, let's see here.
And that still doesn't say that we can't get rid of an older piece of equipment, like a boat mag or a Volvo, and reduce that.
So the graders, you have, remind me here, I'll get these counties, how much, 12? Is that what you have
Yeah.
right now?
12 districts, we got 14.
12 sections.
14 machines.
Yeah, 14
Because
machines.
it's fares.
Yeah. So what you do is 12 is the rotation of the 6 years. That's 42, okay. Cool.
It's February.
Wow.
Yeah, the other options are 3 machines to try to roll it
There's
quicker.
3, quicker, yeah. Oh, yeah, 4 years, yeah. And this one is in, well, that's in 2 and 6 years, and this one is 3 and 4 years, okay. Wow. That's a big investment. Okay. I'm just trying to think how you,
So yeah, this department here's got a lot of revolving.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
gotta-
I'm just telling you what I've thought about over the years.
That's the current equipment list, that
But the rest of it.
hours. Three of them have to go, Volvos have to go.
Well, yeah, the electronics on it is gonna.
No support on anything that's Volvo.
We gotta get rid of them while they're still valued.
Yeah.
Whether it's
I could make them work, but it's gonna be about $500 an hour.
You can do it, Art.
No, I'm serious. It'll
Of course,
take-
if we can't get the chips for them, we may just have to pull a chip and go run one and then pull a chip. and go
Well, they
run.
still might be in them.
That's how they park them in the lot.
Yeah.
Ford,
Yeah.
they got one chip that they plug in the truck and drive it out there on the lot, unplug it.
What is it? 5,000?
It's ridiculous.
So anyway, there's need,
So, yeah, it's-
severe need for
oh,
upgrades
yeah.
in the greater fleet.
Absolutely.
Trucks aren't.
So the newest one is 2013, no, 14. The Volvos are 14, yeah, I remember those, yeah, but 13's a cat, and then everything, oh, yeah, wow.
We just bought one. Is that on there?
Yeah, but it's a used one, it was
It's
a
used.
2012 that we just bought.
Yeah, it
Was
was,
there
it
a lot
was,
of used ones?
it was lower hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we've gotta do something.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just looking at the little issues here.
Because like, just the transfer of, you know, the special machinery fund's only $400,000, so
That won't even pay for the greater
you might be able to get the blade.
roll, the roll
Tires.
plan.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, I've had these thoughts over the 30-some years, but yeah, I think what I'll start with, I mean, the way I take a big project on like this is you just take it a piece at a time. So I think if I work with David and we figure out the funding mechanism and how that would look on a rollover of the gravel and the blacktop, and see if there's anything even feasible with either sales tax or Apple, you know, just see what that mix would be. And then we could we could look at, what was that, 2.49, what'd that rate say? 2.49 was the rate they used on the lease purchases.
Yeah.
So like you could maybe mix the lease purchases with, you know, I don't think lease purchase come into the bonded debt. See, yeah, I think it's separate. And so that's the problem you have here is when you take your assessed value and you add your motor vehicle, and there's a calculation, I don't know it off the top of my head, but David does. And so this is the maximum, and then if you want to go above that maximum debt limit, you have to go to the Board of Tax Appeals. And it has to be usually for an emergency. So then you'd have to show that the emergency was roads, and roads are I mean, it could be an emergency if it's a main thoroughfare. So that's what held us back in 2001 was the debt limit we went all the way up to, I think it was 2.3 million, and we were right at the debt limit, 2.296 or something like that.
This paper here that Tina just handed out says availability for debt limit would be 4.2 million.
Oh, it's now.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
that'd be before the new valuation number.
Yeah.
comes
Right,
out.
it'd
Yeah,
be-
and that would have been 20 years ago, so yeah, it's probably four or five, yeah. But that's how you figure it, you have to go in and you see what your limit is, and then you figure out what that is, and then I'm not sure that lease purchases on graders and I mean, if you really wanted to look at it and say the grader is the only piece of equipment, or maybe the dump truck and the grader are the only piece of equipment we need, and everything else is contract, I'm just saying, I don't know what that.
Kind of going that way. The graders is about what we've got. truck, we got a truck or two that just kind of put out fires.
Tobacco.
Yeah, yeah, but everything else is.
And then a mower,
is going-
what, a couple mowers?
Yeah, mowers.
Mowers you have to have. Those are fairly expensive because you have the,
Flail.
yeah.
All
Does he,
right,
does
back to
he,
business here, let's keep going here. If anybody got anything else to move on here?
Well, we need a couple new buildings too. Can we throw that in? Randy's storage shed.
Yeah. All the storage.
A new building for road and bridge.
Office space.
Office space. Now that we got the little things out of the way. We could spend 40 million in a heartbeat.
We can never
He's
know.
on about 400,000.
That means it because we got all the money for payments.
okay, so I'll see how much I can get done, but like, by Monday, if I could, have a real rough draft of
Revolving.
the real rough draft of that 5-year plan, or 7-year, whatever you wanna call it, and then show the roads. And what I think I'll do, just keep it simple, I'll just say, we'll split the blacktop and gravel up so much a year, just say, instead of naming roads, just, you know.
Right.
Yeah, and then put those in there, and then we can, once I get it set up, Excel spreadsheet it, it'll be easy to do that part. I'll talk to David, and, well, I was telling him on the way over here, I mean, when I started, we were laughing, because these kids don't have any idea. I said, I had a pencil, an eraser, a 10-key add machine, and my landline, and that was the only thing that was on my desk. Oh, and eight column pad and a 13-column pad, I'm sorry.
And it wasn't cordless.
Yeah, that's right, no, it was tied down, so, yeah.
Plugging it.
Yeah.
You always had that paper.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And then
So you can put it
the
back.
partner, when I came to work at the firm, I made you roll the paper over and roll it back on there and do the other side.
Now that I've not heard of. That is new.
Yeah.
That's a new
I
one
didn't
on me.
tell, I forgot to tell him that part.
That's pretty thrifty.
Yeah.
That,
He
only
was-
the accountant would do that.
He was the one that made me go to the bank, and this is so funny. 1099, and the 1099 was, his record showed, let's just pick a number, his record showed $99.10 on his records. Is that how much interest he earned? He said the 1099 is wrong. They're only showing $99, because they rounded it, okay? Or so, I don't know what it was,
Right.
yeah, or on the tax return. He was gonna make me go to the bank and tell them they shorted him by 10 cents. See, that's just the way the world was back then, you know? And today, 10 cents, 10 million, 10 billion, whatever.
10 cents, you're gonna lose $1 to get it, so.
We digress, sorry. about
Yes.
that. Okay, so I'll do the 5-year, the funding plan with David. We'll just try to figure out the big picture first, and
Right.
then we'll back into it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, we'll work on that. Okay. Okay, you breaking lunch at noon, is that when you want to break?
Whatever you.
So I'm just gonna keep going. Is that good enough for the roads right now until we kind of get some of these numbers?
For now.
Yeah, okay.
Those are the big issues, so.
Yeah, I think that.
If we can handle those, then the rest of this thing's a cakewalk.
Okay, tell me, so like, the grader, what piece of equipment, I mean, Bryce is the one to probably answer this, but just roughly, you have 16 graders, and you have, how many dump?
14.
Oh, 14, I thought it said 16 on that
We have
one.
14 graders, we got a
Gotta
6-way.
keep track of it.
No, Mike ships it.
Huh?
What she said 14.
Oh, it's 16?
She just said it to herself.
Everybody's
Oh,
listening.
okay.
Said
So,
16.
talk out louder, I thought it said
That's
16 right there, it
16.
says 16 on there.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yep.
it might have changed to 16.
Yep.
That's the
Isn't it
sheet
on the
we
left
got.
there?
Only 14 run.
Only 14?
We have 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
I know 2 of them are on together.
Okay, I'll just say 14. And then dump
3.
trucks, how many would you think you would have to, I mean, this is, Bryce can tell you.
We only got 3 drivers.
3 drivers, okay, so that's 3.
Yeah.
3 drivers,
Trucks.
11 dump trucks.
And 2 mowers, 2 tractor mowers,
Yes.
and backhoes, 2 or 3 backhoes.
Two backhoes.
2 backhoes.
Tobaccos.
One skid steer, one excavator, and one excavator.
1 excavator.
We still have the dozer, don't
We got a dozer and we got a
Dozer.
6-way blade dozer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so excavator and,
That one, I don't know.
oh, skid steer.
Yeah.
No, I'm just looking just to see, because like the funding mechanism, I was gonna ask Dave, he would know this answer, but what bumps against your debt limit, the lease purchases and all that. So, not that I wanna get the county in a lot of debt, I'm just trying to figure out if there was a way to,
Mhm.
you know, to pay it. Okay. Okay, I think that was it on that, unless you have anything else there. So I'm gonna jump then to page 27.
We still didn't get you a number for that 26 million.
Leave it there.
Well,
No,
so like, I think 5 years might be a little aggressive, so like if we just said 7 years,
If you said 10, that's still 2.6 million.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say
Still-
7 to 10, and I'm just gonna play with it a little bit
Yes.
and just
Yes.
see what the numbers look like.
7 to 10.
Yeah, okay. Okay, page 27. And these are just things I pointed out as I went through here again. Any questions or anything that you think I need to know here? Ambulance, it's just like, I've said this before, but it's just kinda like you're running a business. The ambulance is kinda like running a business. Again, the service fees there were 615 in 2020 up there, where you see I've got the 500,000 to 500,000, so there's 115 there, about 230,000.
We're down on
Yeah, I
calls.
was gonna say,
We're down on
we're
calls.
down on that.
Down on calls.
We're raising our service fee, right?
Yeah, just
Should
matching
balance.
everybody else.
Yep.
As of right now, it looks like we're like at, gosh, when I looked at that, it was 273 or 243 for half a year on the income side.
Be tough to
So
make the 500.
I think we will make the 500, but I
So
don't know if
500
this
is
is the
probably a
year
good number
raise
then,
it.
yeah. Okay. Half year was roughly what'd you say, 273?
Yeah, I'm gonna look and make sure before I tell you, cause I might have made that number up.
Is
Yeah.
that a disease you catch from Scott?
What, no, what she's looking that up, I thought she was gonna say, you know, Scott's been
It
around
was
for
just
30.
slightly lower than half of what we were targeting, so.
What she's looking that number up, I thought when you were talking about the BOMAG and all that, you know, 30-some years and 100,000 or 1 million miles or something like that, you were just gonna say Scott's next.
It's not that funny.
No,
It's not that funny.
It's not that funny.
Okay, what is it? I'm
I
sorry.
don't have it yet, I'm still
Okay.
logging in.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to show you in this one is where I've got this number.
491.
So like if you look at the 491, 476, go back to thinking about the cash again. See that the unencumbered cash in 2020 is 1,048,000 and then it drops to 641. And so this one here really, it depends when we buy the replacement ambulance, it depends. So I'm looking here at that one, so if you're gonna buy, are you buying an ambulance this year?
The buildings, some of this is the building for this year now.
Yeah.
But like on in the ambulance there, I didn't circle it, but you got 120 in 2021 on the ambulance replacement, and you got 200 in 2022. So it looks like that 120 can be used for something else, unless you bought one this year,
He's wanting to buy a new ambulance next year.
next year.
Next year.
So the 120 can be moved to something else, and then the building.
Yeah, but that ambulance is gonna cost
160.
We're at 262, Scott.
262?
On revenue
On
right
revenue,
now.
yeah, okay.
And that's a little bit, that includes some of the June, that's through June 9th. So that's a little bit.
What he's saying is we're not gonna spend 320.
Yeah, we're not gonna spill 320 on the ambulance,
Right.
so we can move, and you could, that next line down, have you done anything on the bill?
I'm
Wait a
just
I think we are.
just gonna ask, isn't Travis counting on using some of his cash to help on the building?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and we may not be able to do too much because I didn't know that he was buying those monitors for 100,000 this year.
And,
Right, so that's, I'm a little hesitant to take anything out of it until you
yeah.
talk to him.
Monitors for those.
He's buying
Heart
3
monitors.
heart monitors.
Right.
It looks like
100,000.
out of capital outlay this year, Scott will probably be 100 to 104,000, and he's already spent some capital outlay.
Some of that grant that we heard radios could have been bought, could have been used over here too.
The ambulance is another issue later
Yeah,
next year.
just this year.
Why in the heck did that drop to 20?
I just-
He did have that
Too
much,
big.
didn't
It just seems like there was something,
I made some notes on all this. Let me see what I got.
because he was trying to get everything in with his current budget.
So I hate to take anything out.
He's
Okay.
busy training this morning.
So are we, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
You're all right.
Yeah, the 200 on the ambulance replacement should be on next year.
Next year?
Yes. And then he wanted, a line for the director vehicle replacement of 10,000.
So the one, okay, so back to the,
Which is
the
up
one,
there.
the 120 can be moved to some other line, and it may just help pay for the heart monitors or whatever, middle column.
Yes.
And then the ambulance building, below that, that 200,000 should be probably moved over to the 2022.
No, we'll probably use that
Oh, you
this
did it this year? Okay,
Yeah, we'll
okay.
use that this year. And then we also need to, we're probably gonna have to do lease purchase for the remainder of that building cost. It's about 480,000 to 500,000 right now.
Okay, lease purchase.
And they haven't actually taken action to do that yet. We were just getting started on
So
this.
lease purchase on 300,000. Basically
Or,
drop the 200 on it and then keep the lease purchase down.
The lease purchase will be around 3,
Yeah.
250 to 3.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else on that one?
Yeah, what you got down there at 491, what you got that circle for?
That's the cash carryover.
Cash carryover.
After what we've got shown here now, 120 that would be added back to that because of that ambulance, we're only using 200,000 in that line item. So that's a good example of where you could add 120 back to that.
probably more like 90. Because he's spent some capital outlay. Let me see what he spent.
Yeah.
Where do you take it and move it to the building and knock out more of it?
Try to get the building paid for it. One way or the other.
Yeah. Get on to the next one.
He's spent about 13,000 capital outlay so far. So then he'll add another 104 to that.
He just got them down to 99,000 last time.
No, he did?
Yeah.
So 100,000.
Yeah, 100,000 for the monitors.
So 813. 2020.
So there's no money left in the 120.
Yeah.
No, there is.
There's like
There's,
6,000.
no, 113, he already had 100 in there, so,
Oh.
You already had 100 in the middle column there for capital outlay, if you
Capital
look there. Yeah.
so,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So we'd have a little bit left over.
Yep, so you could probably move 100. A little bit more.
Okay, and then that levy, based on what we show here, see, the revenue neutral rate is 741. I was gonna see where that fell and what we are, is just near that. 847. So,
Travis.
yes, that's pretty close.
We're talking
Wow,
about.
somebody was listening.
Here's for Vern.
Yeah, we're talking about it.
They were trying to take money away from you, I would
Not,
let.
not trying to take it away, we were trying to cash forward it or put it into some other
I heard
spot.
somewhere else, that's what.
No.
Yeah, yeah. You
No.
tell 'em. Don't let them take your money.
Here to listen.
No, put it in, talk about the building, your heart monitors, stuff like that, where money moves around and
Okay.
cash forwards for next year, paying the building, that kind of stuff.
Okay, your capital outlay at 100,000, is that where you're planning on spending the capital outlay for your monitors?
Correct.
And you got it below 100,000 last time.
I did, but if you recall, I believe we spent 12,000 out of that already this year, so.
Okay.
But I thought I could find somewhere from all of these
Okay.
that I could make that up this year.
Okay. And we know you want 200,000 for ambulance replacement next year.
I mean, you're not gonna spend the 120 this year.
Correct.
So that's where we're going back to moving that.
And I just,
Yeah.
again, I just want to understand the process.
Right.
That's my,
Right.
if I wouldn't be doing my diligence if I wasn't in here, I feel, so.
And if you remember, that 20,000 that Travis put on the building for next year was for maintenance and
Right.
things like that. It wasn't towards the building project itself.
That's right.
But if we do a lease purchase, we'll have to budget that payment in here.
Right.
Right.
So that's gonna have to roll down. But 120 or the 100, whatever's left of the 100 over 3 years.
And what did we spend? We paid for the building already. Where's it coming out of on your line items? The building.
It's coming out of that building line
Building line?
for 2020.
Ambulance building, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And if we move forward with some air conditioning units,
That'll come out of there yet too.
that'll come out of that too. Okay. All right.
Before we need the lease purchase, we got 200,000 we can go to, but then we better have some bank money.
Yeah. Is that all we're talking about, Travis, now? Are we done talking about it?
Till he leaves.
Okay.
Then you're gonna take the money out anyway.
Yeah. Got it, you got him settled.
I think we got a pretty good idea. We're,
Okay.
yeah, we're,
And again, one thing, Scott, we had talked about was the way I had wrote it out for what we put in for 2022 on top of that ambulance, we had 120. I put it at 80 originally. My math, that came to 200, but I need to make it 200
So you can spend it.
so I can spend it. Right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's really all I needed to clarify. And I
Did
didn't
you
think
get-
Tina was leading me astray. I just wanted to make sure I was informed.
They've got it in there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's fine.
I think we're good, yeah.
All right.
Okay, and the 20,000 is just the sustainability of your building, once you get it.
Not
once you
just
get-
that building.
Just upkeep and everything, yeah.
We have
The
other
other facilities.
other places we have
Absolutely.
things to do with. And, yep,
Yep.
You got Jamie's text,
I did. I
Okay.
got that taken care of.
and will it be on the agenda Monday?
Will be.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to
Okay.
see Judy, but,
Okay.
all right.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anyway, okay, any other questions on the ambulance? Okay, appraiser's cost. I mean, there's not a lot of questions. The reason I circled the cash number there is just kind of see where it's at. It's about where the other two columns were. I'm just gonna keep going unless someone. The next one, employee benefits, this is one we kind of wait to the end, or at least know more before we get there. Now that we have the plan, with that plan, do they actually, do they calculate the employee benefits and all that for those years too? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
This is the only account the cash forward is actually rising.
I don't think, yeah, I wouldn't put
No,
too much hope in that
no regret
558,
there.
yeah. That one's,
Well, everyone else has just been steadily declining, so it's.
our firm this year went up 44% in healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable.
No doubt.
Because of us.
To the old people.
I'm the old bow mag that's still hanging around, yeah.
Dragging all the young
We
ones
start
down.
next month.
Either
Is that
you
what you
take
guys
Social
decided?
Security or go to
Or
ours.
are you
We
gonna
haven't
do a work
decided.
session? Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
Figured out later.
Yeah.
We can do county
Been told that a
business
couple
at
times.
12. And if you wanna do a work session before.
Just think how much
you
will
know,
go down.
after.
Yeah, you go down a bunch.
I'll just keep this here, so.
Okay, so I'm not gonna mess with that one. The next one is health, and it got cut off at the bottom. The tax levy's not there, but it looks like hers haven't changed a lot now. some of the ones we've been messing with, you know, because of COVID, I mean, salaries and all
Yeah,
that
the
goodness,
department doesn't know where
hours.
they're at.
Yeah, the hours are just like nuts. One of the counties I'm gonna start helping, Nemaha, they actually contract their entire health department out. It's not, there's nobody on staff. They've been doing that for, I didn't know that, but the lady that's helping us, Carlotta, her mother-in-law that runs the health department as a contractor. And, yeah, they have a building downtown, they just run the health department, and they just pay a contracted amount to that company to run it. Yeah, so I've never.
Is that,
That's not right.
is that moving toward that
I
direction?
don't know, I've not seen that a lot, but I've not done any calculations on it. I was just interested, I went and talked to her one day, because it's COVID there, and we were just, because we did a lot of spark work there, and we were just talking to her, but she said, yeah, it's all contracted.
Interesting.
I think you are seeing contracted services a lot more in the government world. I mean, that's in all this, you know, like, it seems like that's just the way it's going, but I don't know. Health, I've never, ever, since Deidre's been here, ever had any questions on what she does. I mean, she does a great job. Aging, on page 29, kind of the same thing. The cash looks like it's about where it's at. The line items looked reasonable. I think we still got that 46,000 in there. That's they explain that the health insurance, there's 6 of them or something, and it's the other, if we play the other.
There's 2 of them, and there could be a possibility of 4.
4 of them, yeah, or 4 of them there, or something like that, so that's why the 46 is still there. So really, David, like in that case, the cash is 47 in the circle, but there's still cash there in that other line item, so. In the past, the reason the state went that way, probably about 3 years ago, is it used to be you just build the cash carryover in capital outlay or just other line item, and so the state wanted to try to get more transparency to the citizens to say, here's what the line items are, here's the cash carryover, so that people would see that it's not just, they're not hiding the cash. Election, you probably speak better to that. I didn't see any difference there. Let's see, 2022 is an election year, but it's a smaller election year.
It's 2022 will be like the state and federal,
Yeah.
yeah.
I thought you was buying some equipment.
This year.
This year, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm just buying, I'll verify that these middle column numbers are all good.
And I see you got the R&R, you had to go through and figure the R&R on every one of these, correct?
Well, it's just that sheet up here. If you ever have a question on how that R&R got calculated, if you go to page 10,
Yeah.
that's where I get those numbers out of column M. I just dropped them in there so that I would be able to know, okay, here's what it's gonna take to fund it,
Okay.
and here's what the R&R is. So like in that one, there's 16,000 difference.
Yeah.
But the R&R, is it your interpretation that it's just as a whole for the county?
Yes, it is. Yeah,
Okay,
it's not my fund.
Okay,
I was just doing it to have an idea,
point of reference.
because the way that sheet is made up there is however the funds were last year by mill levy. And so I was just trying to see, okay, here's the mill levy last year, and most of these budgets, you can see they're fairly much following the 76 mil, or the 74 to 76 mil, okay? And if you look at the 66 mil, I was just seeing how much difference it was, what we'd have to make up if we stayed at if the Keystone went away, what would we have to fund on each fund to make it work the way it has, or we have to start cutting? Yeah, that's just a question.
Okay.
Yeah. Election, okay, we just go to that. 30 is noxious weed, and noxious weed, and we've got a little bit built. I don't know that off the top of my head. Let me look here real quick. On page 32, 32 is the fund that ties to noxious weed. It's called the noxious weed capital outlay. We've been putting 5,000 in there for quite a while. We've got, at the end of 20, we had 44,000 built up. Typically what's bought out of there would be like, if it's a new vehicle, but I think that vehicle is newer.
What good shape on vehicles?
Huh?
So we-
Pretty good shape on that, I thought. There was a sprayer or something.
Couple
they
years
got buyers.
ago, we bought a truck.
But there's 44,000 there, and the way that works, David, is if you got the 44,000 sitting over there and you need it for operations, you can pull it back in. There's no tie to it. It's like the capital outlay.
The only thing he's wanting to do is upgrade the sprayer
Yeah.
this winter.
Yeah. Park, I don't, you might update me on the dock, did that'll get done? Or that's, no?
That's a
We have
long
a-
story.
Oh, well.
We have a memorandum.
Yep.
Understand.
Okay.
Well, so, but funding wise, we need to be thinking about how we're gonna pay for this.
Oh, okay.
So, we do need
Then
to.
we've got to have some money spent by
Fees,
the
if you
end
walk on
of
the dock, you charge you.
right?
Yeah, toll booth.
The end of this year.
Toll booth on the dock.
Or so we can get our insurance.
Credit cards.
Okay, let me just make sure, these are we did this quite a bit here on this one. Electric water upgrade, is that all done? We got 40 in the middle column and 40 in the 2022 column. Should that just be 50 in the 2022 column, or should we have 80 there?
We're still working on
Still working on that?
Well, they're gonna do some more electrical upgrades too.
That's not 50,000. It might be at the end of all that. I mean, after you do the lake.
The superintendent garage, we got 25 in both columns, and is it only gonna be 25? I mean, I'm just trying, the key thing here that I gotta go back and we'll work, Tina does a good job of this, of the middle column is where we're at right now.
Right.
And then we have to figure out if we're gonna spend it this year or not. If we're not gonna spend it, then we carry it over to 2022, just so that we always have a budget authority in the 2022 year. So like those two right there, electrical upgrades, 40's in the middle column, 25's in the middle column, and equipment storage is 35 in the middle column, and it's in the 2022. So we got quite a bit set in there, just depending on when it's gonna be spent.
Before you get too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's already gone.
No.
No.
The situation with the heated dock,
Okay?
we went with a contractor, we awarded a bid, and we paid them the first half upfront. We received an insurance reimbursement for a portion of it.
Right.
And that all was kind of done out of the general fund, because there wasn't enough budget authority in the
Right.
park fund to do that. So the contractor never finished it, so we ended up we haven't paid the second half. We ended up having to go pick up what he had done and bring it back. And so it's sitting over there, and so now there's another contractor looking at it, but instead of the price we initially thought it was gonna be, it's looking at, I think the number I saw was like around 400,000 to finish it.
400.
That's the number I saw. So, insurance, as long as we have it done by the end of the year,
Evenings if you wanna go.
Or at least start.
We'll cover.
we should get another 85,000 from insurance.
Wow.
But,
That's way different than what they thought.
yes, so,
Time has moved on and prices have went up.
Well, some of that, like, probably is the lumber, I mean, all the different things for building now is unbelievable, the price differences. There's a guy in Sedan told me he put the, like just the wafer board or whatever you call it on the side of the house.
Hardy
And
board.
and if he would've done it a year ago, I think it would cost him $3-something a sheet maybe, and now it was like $37 a sheet, maybe, just that one piece. I mean, that's just unbelievable.
Well, it's no different than plywood.
Yeah.
$30-some a sheet, and now it's over 100.
I wonder if this should be just out of the general fund. But it's something we need to account for, and let me check something real quick.
Now, this one here, let's see, okay, so we did we apply originally for grant on this? I can't remember.
No, because we were going to, and then a storm came and
Storm
knocked it out.
wiped
And
it
so
out, yeah, I remember
insurance,
that.
we thought we were gonna get paid for by insurance.
Yeah.
So we have we issued the second half of the payment for 102,000 to the vendor, but we never mailed it. So we have a check that will void out of the general fund. So there's 102,000 that
How
will
much did you pay
have
on the first one?
101,
So it's half and half?
yeah, 101,950 is what he got, and then 101,500 is what was left, and that we've got that money that will go towards it, plus I think it's about 85,000 of insurance. So that's almost half of it. So we're gonna probably need a line item in the general fund for
Plus whatever the consultants ask for, we'll take it.
balance.
Randy, Cody thinks he's gonna get a the price down quite a bit. They're still working on a new
Well,
price.
He was very conservative in his numbers.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
covered himself.
Yeah.
we went a different direction, a different guy now.
Okay, good.
The first guy dropped
New,
out.
new leadership.
Yeah,
Yep. Okay, good deal.
So maybe
Hopefully they'll know
150
something.
then.
Good deal.
next week.
I don't know.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, we'll get you excited about it.
Right. But you also notice there,
Kinda know that stuff now.
yeah, you also notice that we just had the guy come in for sheds, and we also, that's where I was coming from, down here, the 25 and 35.
Yeah.
Equipment storage building, plus, then that's probably not enough in there now for a good garage and, you know, built and stuff. but-
Numbers going down.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's still way up.
Yeah, it's
That
still
looks-
way up there.
That
so.
won't be in both columns,
No.
that garage number,
Yeah.
that'll be in probably the 22 column. Cause then he has authority to spend it either year.
Okay.
Wasn't he talking about buying one of those already pre-built?
What he brought in was buying a carport and with sides was
Closed in.
12,000. But,
I think you need to build a real building.
Yeah. It sort of sells us. I
But
think.
once you put concrete into even the carport, it's,
Yeah.
that price is gonna be 20.
Yeah, almost double.
Right? Or did you get concrete?
I don't know, he didn't, I don't know if he did.
no.
That building blow away.
Yeah. After you put it up, it goes away. yeah.
Okay, well, we'll look at that middle column and get what it needs to be in the 2022
Okay.
and I put a note up here in the general fund that, back on the dock,
Yeah.
try to figure out how that works.
Okay.
Okay, page 31, solid.
Wait.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
On Park, I need to talk to you about that they have done a bait, we're expanding the bait shop out there.
Oh, okay.
So this year, we took, on our accounting, I set up a $15,000, we did a capital outlay and just set it up on our accounting to track that bait shop expense
Okay.
separate. Can we do that as a separate fund on the budget, or do we need to, can we include it as a separate, outbreak like what we do on Road and Bridge to show bait shop as a separate little section in the
So you
park
can see if it's profitable or not?
Yes, cause we're gonna track that.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. The state just says, you know, don't create funds just to be creating funds, but if you're trying to track it for,
What we did, I mean, we did pull it out into a separate, just so we
Yeah.
can see. Let's see. Yeah, so park, we have as Fund 140, we pulled
Yeah.
it into 141,
For
just
the
so we
bait
can
shop.
see that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So,
On your general ledger, can you do a subgroup like this for bait shop and have that reporting and still pull it into the park fund? Can't do that.
I don't think so. So the only thing that we could do, it would be keep it in the park fund, but then assign different expenditure and income lines, but then it just jumps it all together.
No, it's up to you. It's however what makes it easier to you. It'd just be, the way it would show is like back here, if you looked at, probably back here on these non-budget funds on page 40. You just have the cash and you'd have the receipt and the expenditures and any cash. And that way you can track it separately if you want to do.
And the total at the end of that fund is.
It would have nothing to do with the levy fund that we're talking about here. It would just be a standalone.
So right, and the only thing is on that, what the board initially did was they did a $15,000 expenditure to start it
Right.
out of the levy.
Right.
Okay.
Is that come out of the general fund or the park fund?
Park.
Yeah, so yeah, that'd be fine.
Okay.
You could just make note of that somewhere, but it's still the park funds.
Right.
I mean, technically, I don't know if that's
Okay. We did a check.
a transfer that, you know, it's not, but it would be just seed money to
Yeah,
start.
we didn't do it as a transfer, we did it as a check.
But you wrote a check, yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's a legal.
From the park to
That's a
the
legal
park.
expenditure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
And we did expend it.
Yeah, we
Right,
did,
yeah, we did.
No, and it bought inventory.
Yeah.
Yes, it
But
is.
see, like in the world here, you don't do gap accounting, so you don't really track your inventories or your, all that, but
We do
yeah.
out there.
Huh?
Do out there. There's
Do out
point of
there,
sale.
yeah.
There's a
Software
point
out
of
there.
sale system now that's,
Yeah.
that caps me out.
Okay, Scott.
Cats me out.
I'm
Okay.
gonna-
Yep.
I don't know what kind of time frame you think we're doing here, but,
Well, let
to
me
get
just see
through.
what we got left here real quick.
But we're.
I'm actually just I'm 2 funds off of, the levy funds, and that's really the only ones that
Okay.
really, I mean, the other funds matter, like transfer station and stuff, but I mean, there's no levy, like the mill levy tied to it.
And we're willing to stay here till whenever you pick up a good time to take a break for dinner, and then.
Oh, yeah, if
Okay.
you,
Yeah,
if
whenever
you
you
wanna,
pick a good time, it's gonna make no difference to us.
yeah, it doesn't matter to me either.
Okay, you just tell us when you wanna stop.
Okay, so what do you wanna accomplish, the rest of the day? I mean, I can go through the rest of these funds, I mean, that would take an hour or less.
We've been
Okay.
through
We've been through, I mean, these funds at the back are more just, I mean, for David's, purposes, you know, there are some things, history or whatever behind it, just to know.
So we need to stay another 2 hours for that.
Yeah, just for
They need to
that,
stay.
yeah.
No, you can just keep him here for that.
They all have to stay.
And, so we really, I mean, what you've already told me, I mean, I always tell you this every year, but, you know, it's road and bridge and that, all that stuff I told you I was gonna work on. I mean, there's not a lot of other things here that I mean, I have to know what you guys.
Dave, is there
do.
anything that you?
Anything else you want?
That you
I
want
mean, it
covered?
seems like David has a pretty good grip of what's going on.
Yeah, where we're.
Well, I guess, I don't know where all these other questions fit in, but let's go to the ARP. We have a number of potential good projects that fit under there. One of Tina's concerns is, if we put them in the budget, does that exclude us from, and we don't know the answer to that.
Oh, like.
Say we wanna do a
Like in the
project.
Spark money, if it was budgeted, you can't use that money for
Right.
that expenditure. I don't know
Right.
that answer yet, but, I don't think so, because the way, it's like I was talking to Cali County yesterday, the way I see this is, you know, the Spark money was all about spending it as fast as you could.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't pay for anything that was already budgeted. I mean, there was just a lot of just weird things. This, to me, I think they learned a lot, hopefully learned a lot from that, but I don't know yet. But, you know, this is, like we were talking, he's the county administrator down there. You could have literally expenditures all the way through 2024 and maybe even 2 more years, depending on how that played out. So I think the thought process here is, it's more the longer term projects, like one I brought up to him, and I don't know that it fit here, but you've already addressed it, and a lot of counties haven't, is the radio. Okay, the radio between the, you know, all the different townships. Their number was, he was just telling me yesterday, it was $12 million, I think, to get theirs up to 800 radios or whatever it is. And there's a 6.7 they're getting, you know, for that. So there's just some things you have to look at is, you know, I mean, I'm just gonna be very honest with you on the Spark funding. The other day I was reading, my wife was reading them, I think it's in the paper, maybe, the minutes to Canton Gallup School District. I'm just picking them because I live in Gallup, okay? Well, we did away, this has been in end of April. We're doing away with all the temperature readers, you know, well, where do those temperature readers go? They probably go in the closet. And when I was doing all that Spark funding for those 17 counties, some of those numbers were anywhere from 25,000 to 60,000 for those temperature readers. And you look at it now, that 60,000, so I mean, I was pushing them and our team was pushing them very hard, make an expenditure that's gonna last past 6 months or 9 months, and we didn't know how long it was gonna last. But I think that's why they brought the rescue fund in here, is more looking at that longer term, whether it's, I mean, your technology, you've been more that way, but a lot of them aren't, you know, I mean, and so that's the thing, how can we do some technology in our broadband? How can we do certain things and so I don't have the answer to what you're asking, but that's, I'm hoping that's what they're looking at, and that's why I was thinking if there's a way to, just because you put it in the budget, I don't think it's gonna be a problem, but.
Just a question.
They haven't determined what actually is infrastructure then. I mean,
Well,
other than roads, we can't use it, but,
I don't have that list with
I
me.
mean, there's
Let's
a
see here.
lot of other things that we could use it for, but we don't know if we could use it.
So one thing that has been brought up by the emergency manager is the potential for the repeater or the big tower for the north part of the county to increase our range and our receptiveness on the radios. That number may be around $1 million is what I've been hearing. So there may be the opportunity to do that and do a lot of the smaller projects that have already kind of been raised and then other things that you guys haven't thought of yet. So what, we definitely need a work session on that. And I know, are they still allowing cities to use that for water projects as an infrastructure? Do you know, Scott, or have you?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, water and sewer.
So they're letting them do that
I
for
was looking to
cities,
see, we
but
sent
not
an
counties.
email that showed that.
But there's still a lot that that's not known, and they haven't just made the rules yet. So.
Yeah, I think the biggest, we've been doing these, Government Finance Officers of America put out this revenue loss calculator that you can go in and do the revenue loss calculators for cities and counties. And so that's kind of one thing that, because see, that was never allowed in, under Spark, that you could, if you lost any money, but I don't know, it's fairly, some may have lost, I'm not sure that a lot of people did. I was looking here, I've got this
I think the
somewhere.
county has lost in certain areas, like on motor vehicle, with some of their fees and some of the officer fees, so there is gonna be some amount that was less than it was before.
As an electric utility, it was really interesting that we thought collections, oh my God, people are gonna pay the bills. Actually went up, people paid better through all that. I mean, our collections, we couldn't collect, but we didn't have to. It was just the opposite of what you would have thought. So there was no loss.
Property taxes paid faster this year.
It did too. 97%, like the first day.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I would assume that the questions I have left, or anything you have, the questions you have, I don't really have any questions at this point, I just gotta do some work to come up with.
Well, and
If there's anything else, like, any question, anything you think of that you want me to look at?
the only thing I see, there's some maybe things in here like the special bridge down here on 31.
Yeah.
That Dave may have some interest in, and some of the other funds. And see, there's a bunch of funds yet that we haven't covered, the alcohol, drug, the sheriff.
We go to lunch, and if you wanna come back at one, go to lunch, if you wanna come back at 1 o'clock, or whenever you want me to come back, and, I would think we'd be done in an hour, unless you have other questions.
We go ahead and work through it and be done
Yeah,
at 1
whatever,
o'clock.
at 1 o'clock, whatever you wanna do, I'm either way,
You wanna do that, Dave?
just get her done.
I would, but,
Okay.
Yeah, you don't
We
want
need
to
to
talk.
take a break then.
Now let's take a little
Take
break.
another break, and then we'll just finish it up, and then
Okay.
That'll work.
we're done, okay?
That'll work.
Is Dorothy's house open?
They closed.
No.
What is it?
That, I suppose that little cafe.
Oh, the
Cafe CB6.
CB Bakery.
bakery's open, yeah. That's open. We'll go down there, that's pretty good.
Before
What day is
1:30.
Tuesday?
Before 1:30? Well, we better get done then, huh?
Well, just call her and just get it over. We could do that. I could do that.
Oh, we're-
Everybody like beer rocks?
Everybody like beer rocks? I'll
We
go
can
get
go
some
to break
beer
for
rocks.
lunch, that's fine.
Huh?
Ordering food?
I'm thinking about ordering
Come
beer
here.
rocks.
Beer rocks.
Yes.
Is everybody interested?
Yes.
So she has ham and cheese, she's got,
Yeah, she's got the
Different.
bolsos too.
She got
They got the ham and cheese, got the,
Yeah, we'll just do the lunch
The
special, you
chicken
get a
bolsa.
beer rock or.
it's a
bolsa
beer rock with ham and
chips,
cheese.
green, kind of hot.
It's they got
I want one of those.
yeah, they're good. They're really good. Tina, tell you
I don't know
all
what
about
she's
them.
gonna have though. It's middle of the week sometimes. She's gonna have all of them.
Don't make it too hard on her.
They got some chicken ones, they got some.
Oh, they're all good.
Pizza ones.
Yep. Whatever, I don't have, I didn't mean to,
No,
No,
I'm
that's-
hungry now.
yep.
or you could just take a break
Wasting
and go
away
to
here.
lunch.
You just go to lunch and come back, you wanna do like a 30-minute or 45-minute lunch or something, or do you wanna do that?
Okay,
Fine,
or I
whatever.
can get the food and bring it back.
It's
You
just a
let
lot of
us
work
know what you want.
for her to.
Yeah.
I don't
let's take 30 minutes, we'll be back at 12:30 and then finish it up.
An assortment of what she's got.
Yeah.
Because we never know what she's
We're on
got.
our own, nobody's gonna feed me?
No, we're on our own for 30 minutes.
I'm confused now.
Yeah, we're on our own.
Oh, I know. Okay.
We'll be back in
Okay.
30 minutes.
Can we
We'll
eat
be
the
back
same
in
place?
12:30.
Oh, we can get it to go.
That way, yeah.
Just gonna all walk down the street.
Yeah, there's a company that does that, isn't it?
You're always trying to sell.
We have a salesman who's related to him.
I think we do buy, we
You know,
do
you gotta buy a little bit.
Yeah, we make the name.
Not a lot?
No, like you should.
Okay.
All the money you guys are making.
Well, before,
I have to live in Gallo. I mean, I don't.
We didn't get any gifts.
I think you lost control of this meeting.
yeah, before we get started, we've done lost control, but anyway, we're back, it's county commission meeting here, and, on budget still, we're gonna go through this, and Scott's still got the floor, he's in charge, until otherwise.
Scary. Okay, I'm just gonna go through the rest of these funds, and then if you got any other questions that pop up, you let me know. And I think what we're gonna do, we were talking about a game plan downstairs. We're probably gonna stay here till about 4-ish and try to get all the questions answered. I mean, things, because for them, I mean,
From Tina.
I don't want this, yeah, from Tina. I don't want it to sound, but Cappy got it. We got Tina, or all of us together at one point. It's hard to, yeah, so just try to get as much done.
That's great.
Yeah, try to get as much done before Monday as possible.
That sounds
Yeah,
good.
Fine,
Yeah, is that okay?
yes.
Okay. Okay, so 31, the top solid waste, this is a levy fund. There's not a lot, I mean, the cash is about the same, I don't know if there's any special things we need to know about the solid waste fund. Special bridge, remind me, did we ever get the money? I was thinking about this when I was working on some Osage stuff. See, they pulled down all the money, and I think you did, but you put it in road and bridge maybe, from the state of Kansas. You know, that one point there, you could pull all the money down at one time.
You're
on-
talking about the local improvement, like
Yeah.
yeah, we're getting it annually.
Annually.
We've gotten all of ours.
You got all of yours, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So I don't think there, unless there's other questions, I don't know that there's any. Special bridge, remind me, is that, now, it's been changed over the years here. What do you pay out of, what is typically paid out of?
typically we pay culverts and things out of there.
Culverts.
However, this year we're actually paying for a bridge,
Bridge, yeah.
project out of there.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't done it yet.
We're going to try to do it.
Digital.
One day.
As your,
Paying cost share out of it.
Right.
yeah.
We're not buying.
One thing, just for everybody, so we're on the same page, that's what the bond issue David just helped us with up at Osage. See, in a situation like this, you don't have to go to vote, where you have the critical fracture bridge or the bridges that would typically be the engineer's estimates. So they've done this several times, and they have a lot of bridges just kind of like you do. They actually go in and they figure out all those, and I think they're gonna, with the low rates, what was it? I don't know. It was probably
Borrow a
about,
bunch of money.
they
Get it
borrowed
done.
quite a bit, and they got another big old bunch, they're getting done. And they rolled in the old bond issue, which just had a little bit left over, and so they got it all for under 2%. And I don't remember how many bridges are in that, but it's a big number.
They're paying it back out of mill levy or sales tax?
No, out of the levy.
Out of mill levy.
Yeah, but they had the bond instrument, they already had the levy there because what they do is like if you have let's just say you have a $4.2 million bond issue for bridges, when you get to that next one, they won't let that levy roll off, they'll just keep that levy going and then have another however many bridges, and they've done that now for probably 25 years. So the bridge side of it, and it's a little easier than the road side because you have that flexibility of that stats. But David just got them all that and then got that taken care of. I think that's supposed to probably finalize right here anytime. So that's another option that you have with bridges. I don't know, how many critical fracture bridges would you have, you know?
You'd have 6 or 7 on the list.
Yeah.
Major, worst ones.
Most of them 500,000, million?
Yeah, some 500,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Knoxville Weed capital outlay on page 32. We've already talked about that. That's just a transfer from Noxious Weed Fund. Registered Deeds Tech Fund is just the fees that they generate. This started back when computers started becoming a bigger thing and scanning and all that. And so they get so much off each thing they record electronically. And if it ever got over $50,000, I think if it ever got over $50,000 in that fund, they can actually, the county can use that money, but you can't use the money until it goes over 50,000. I think the dollar amount's $50,000, if I remember right.
I guess I didn't know about that
Yeah,
provision.
so it never gets there because
You've been using the money.
Yeah, she'll use it.
well, it never gets there because what happens is the technology contractors make sure it never gets there so they can keep spending it in the registered deeds fund.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sheriff drug, that's just, just odd men stuff that pops up. Special alcohol and drug.
Now, which one of these do we take care of? I was wanting to say, and pay who takes the money for fact? Does one of these come from fact? Or does one of these go to
No,
fact?
so we're using, oh, you're talking about special alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the next one down, I think.
So we do an allocation for fact out of sales tax. We have been
Okay,
each year
it's out of sales tax.
for 6,000, and
Yeah, I think it's
then,
back here, if you look back
Yeah,
on.
it's coming up, okay.
No, if you look back here on, I saw it earlier, page 22. It's the second from the bottom there, in the sales tax other, you see fact allocation.
Okay.
$6,000.
There it is, yeah.
and then all the money that we're getting in for special alcohol is immediately being sent to them, and they're administering our drug and alcohol
Prevention.
prevention.
Rehabilitation, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
That
So they're
makes-
administrating those funds for the county.
Is that fact
Okay,
also?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Administrative.
okay,
I didn't know
thank you,
that.
Tina.
Okay.
I knew it was, somewhere they did something with it, but I couldn't think of where. Okay, I'm happy. Go ahead,
Okay.
Scott.
Okay, administrator by fact, okay. Then 9/11 combined, there used to be several different ones, and now it's all in one. And this is usually for, it's around $80,000 you get, and it's used to upgrade just all different types of the 911 system. Is that pretty well up to date? I mean, is there, do you know? I haven't checked on that for quite a while.
We spent
Or
a bunch
not
of
yet.
money last year, and yeah, so I think it caught it up, because it actually dropped some of their budget down this year, because of such a big expense last year.
Yeah, wow, okay. Special road machinery, what that is a transfer that comes over from the road and bridge fund. The way that works is at the end of the year, if you have remaining, budget and cash, you can transfer up to, yes, off the top of my head, I think it's 25% of the revenues of the amount that's left over the net. And so it's a fairly big number, but you're using on roads and all that other stuff. So I think it's been, what, 400 for several
Well,
years? It used to be 500, I think.
We've had it at 500, we've had it
Yeah.
at 600.
Yeah. So
Kind
it's
of depends
yeah.
on, and the last couple of years, we haven't paid the full transfer.
Yeah, so last year was 266. But different things are paid there, lease purchases on the equipment, like we talked earlier, if you buy certain equipment, or sometimes you pay cash, and you can see some of those purchases there, that the Caterpillar grader, used one you got. Bond and interest is down on the jail on 35, down to $759 in 2020. Yeah, got that pretty well spent down. Capital improvement, that's the one I'll be working on, putting that sheet together to kind of just at least start some numbers. And 5-year sheet, or 7-10, I guess is what we're doing. And we'll tie that together. Risk management reserve on page 36. The reason this was originally set up was Linda Peterson was on the commission, so I don't know if that'd be that, goodness, that'd be the 90s probably. Oh, she was in here when you started?
No, sure, no, she was ahead, but,
Early
it
2000s?
would be late 90s, yes, she was in late 90s, yes, correct.
So what happened is, you as a commissioner can appreciate this, when the landfill was closed here at, he got killed, didn't he? I think that, wasn't that what it was? The guy that operated that died in a accident or something?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
Tom
you
Gross,
you
yes.
ran your own landfill,
Mhm.
and he died, Tom Gross, was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so you had all these, it was amazing, had all these liabilities sitting out there, didn't know what to do and all that, and they literally shut down her line of credit on her farm because they sued the county commission for the liability that sat out there at the landfill. And so the reason we set this risk management fund up, it's another one of those funds where it's transferred from the general fund, but if you need it back, ever need it back in the general fund, you can transfer it back. But it was set up originally for that purpose, was to handle lawsuits on the landfill. Yeah,
More recently, it's been used for
yeah.
keeping your tax lid, where you could.
Yeah, so what I
Money,
did,
so.
yeah, so what I did on the tax lid is if we had extra evaluation, there's a line in the tax lid at that time that just said that if you have unreimbursed expense from the federal government, you can levy for that purpose. And so we took a certain amount and put it over here, I think,
I think what we did was for disasters.
for disasters, yeah, for like,
We moved it over for
yeah,
disasters.
disasters, yeah.
Which was handy for
Yeah.
COVID.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What are the other
And it
items
all goes
under,
back to a landfill.
Dave?
what are the other items under receipts? There's like KSS Secretary of State election,
So-
Peabody Central Kansas Community Foundation.
Yeah.
Those are grants that we received last
Oh.
year. And so we ran all of our expenses and our income for the COVID disaster through this fund.
Risk management.
So we have our Spark, the amount that the county received to reimburse our expenses, which wasn't everything, but we had already paid out to other organizations. I got a grant from the Secretary of State's office. I got a grant from the CTCL, which I'm not sure those numbers are right, but I'll prove them. Cause we got 5,000 from
You might-
CTCL.
These are April's numbers we got right off
Yeah.
her thing, so you
Yeah. And then those other numbers are, the Peabody Central Kansas Community Foundation, and then Hillsborough. Those are grants that, emergency management applied for and used for PPE for the fire districts. And there's the amount of CESF funding that we received last year, and we've received a little bit more this year.
So it's all COVID related.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
But that 558, it don't show it expensed anywhere. I mean, if we give some back, and did we?
So we have,
Total receipts is 30.
right, that's,
That was CBDG that we gave back.
no, I know what you're saying, Randy, I'm just trying to answer
Yep.
you. I need
I hope
to,
I haven't rubbed off on you.
I need to verify that the numbers on this page are right, because I don't think they are.
Yep.
They're wanting to show us having like transfers out, and so you're not seeing everything on here right now. But all of the Spark monies came in here and went out of here.
Yeah, okay.
Even if they weren't for us and we sent them to somewhere else, they were all on, through this fund.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, does that
Yes,
explain it?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Probably what April, what we did to get these numbers is April, your auditor, she does a draft, we pushed her pretty hard. She had 2 staff people leave, and she had like 50 audits outstanding at one point. So I said, I need my numbers. But anyway, she tends to net them. So probably what you have here is a net effect, and just the,
And I asked how, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, part of that's my fault,
yeah, no problem.
but it's good.
Okay, so that fund still has some money sitting in it, but that's how it works,
Mhm.
and go from there. Transfer station, this one's been around for, I don't know what year that was, 2005-ish, 6, something like that. And so it's just basically the assessment fees come in, and then any kind of like construction, demolition, whatever else comes in. Is all the everything done on it? Is it up to date, or you still got some
What's
more
that?
work on the transfer station?
It's done according to our agreement and stuff, but there's some things that's not
Things
right.
we're gonna have to do.
More stuff we gotta do just to.
Is that figured in here somewhere, like?
No, we haven't got a cost on it yet.
So we still have the future building here, I noticed, of $2 million.
What we do need to budget out of there is just the lease purchase,
Right.
74,102, it'd be 147, no.
Oh, the 74,
148.
102, yeah. okay.
Yeah, so we have two payments like that each year, so we need
Okay.
148 in each
148,
year,
okay.
in each year for that,
Okay.
and no more on that.
We can get that, when we get down here, we'll get that number. Yeah. Okay? And then that line right above there, future building, we've got well, 400,000, 21, 22, does that need to stay, or it's gone? To other things, okay. Because we do have a negative cash at 328.
Yeah, that 200.
400 just
Yeah,
went out
that's
the window, yeah.
right.
Okay, so we can mark those two out. And add to that, okay. Is the lease purchase, I didn't see the lease purchase tire cutter, is that all paid off? It's still going?
It's on
above the
there.
future building,
Maybe it was
the
on
line above the future building.
No, I see it there, I was looking to see if it was on.
It should
the
be
lease
paying
purchase
off
schedule.
soon if it's not.
Yeah,
Is it gone?
2019 tire cutting machine.
Oh, yeah, I see it now, okay, yep. Mhm. So we have, that was in 19 for 3 years, so 22 will be last year. Okay?
So that machine was 130,000?
It was 100 and, no, let's see. Something doesn't look right there.
No.
Something.
That's a lot of money.
I don't think those numbers, I don't think that number's
It
right.
wasn't.
It was.
I thought it was
See,
40,000.
3 payments or 3 years.
That number in the 2020 column is 42,948, I don't
Right.
think is
That's
just,
for 2 items. That's for a skid steer and.
yeah,
Yeah, that
that's a
was-
skid steer
Oh,
and a
okay.
tire
Better than
cutter,
skid
yeah.
steer.
Okay, I just saw tire cutter now. Oh.
Yeah,
No,
so
it's like-
Oh, the
64.
skid steer got cut off.
Yeah,
Okay, that I can-
64 and 31, yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah,
I can-
that makes more sense. 'Cause
Thank you.
I was looking at
Thank
the
you.
tire cutter too, and I didn't.
The tire cutter's like 11. So.
1184.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Oh, this is a skid steer and that I can see.
Okay, so we'll check that out, let's see,
Paying for it.
what else here. Okay, so, and that one's pretty well locked down with the, you know, with the fees you get there. So I think once we work those numbers, we'll hopefully end up with a little more cash in the middle column and the 2022 column. Okay, Lake Patrol, this is a fee that, on page 37, you get from the Corps of Engineers. And it would, it's 34,000, and that usually pays for contracted service, you know, for, I don't, do you have, I can't remember here, do you have your law enforcement officers do that, or do extra people, I mean, do you have just people for that?
They did have kind of a retired guy, didn't they?
Yeah.
They use a combination. They use reserve officers and then sometimes.
We have a new sheriff in Osage, we were just talking about that, they have 2 lakes there, you know, and so he said his school resource officers are the ones that he rotates. He has 4 of them, 4 school resource officers, and so they rotate them in the Lake Patrol.
Well, darn, that's neat. Because they use that in summer.
So they pay 80,000 out of the, let's see, 80,000 out of the Lake Patrol and 100,000 out of his budget, so it kind of splits it. Yeah. County Clerk Tech Fund and the County Treasurer Tech Fund on the next page, those were, how should I say this gracefully? Those were added because Richard Deed had a tech fund, and so I think the other people felt left out.
Well, they added it, the legislators added it when they took away the mortgage registration fees.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did it.
I don't know, there's always something behind it, but anyway, that's what those are, and they don't near generate as much money, but they're used to help with speeding up or helping with technology.
I'm thankful to have it.
Absolutely. Transfer station building fund, that's 0 on 39, cause I just skipped on past that next page.
Radio's done.
Radio's done. CDBG, looks like it's paid out. And then what you have is these just little odd and end funds, health, Morris County WIC, that's been done that way ever since I was involved, coordinate with the WIC program through Morris County. Law Enforcement Trust, Prosecutor Training Assistant, Special Prosecutor. Usually why these are set up is there's a statute that says this fund shall be established for a very specific, purpose. Same on the next fund, and the Spark Fund here, it's showing 41 there, it's showing what went in and what got paid out. They're on 41, 31, 4th one over.
Yeah.
Zeroed out, yeah. I don't know, that's what you have. And then this next page was like I was showing you earlier. We got a 242 Mill levy, does that sound about what you wanted?
Nope.
Yeah, that's with the 26 million in it. So, that'd get people's attention, wouldn't it? So anyway, I'll make these I'll work on the road and bridge. We'll stay around here probably for the next, 2 or 3 hours and try to get as much, we might even have stuff done by, as far as we can get it anyway, maybe before we leave today, we'll just see. And, this publication, the way you're gonna do it will be made where we have both the revenue neutral rate hearing and the budget hearing all at one time. And then I already told you about 43, that's just the neighborhood revitalization, and that'll change a little bit on each fund based on the levy, if there's any changes in the levy. Okay, I guess it's, any questions? That was done in less than 30 minutes.
Okay, the number one question that we need to settle
Yep.
is work session for Monday morning, county business, what time and what time we're gonna start. So, that could depend on what Scott gets done today.
I can start Monday, the 28th. I can start whenever you want to start. So if you want to just have your regular meeting and I just pop in at a certain time on afternoon or 12:30 or.
So if they do it at their regular time, they'd start at 12:30, and
Okay.
they've got a few items of regular county business they need to do. So probably be 1:15 would be the earliest if we start at.
Or if you wanted to come, like, if you want to do, because there'll be a little bit to talk about because of that road and bridge thing. I mean, if you want me to come like at, 10 or something like 10:30, something like that, and then just, and then sometimes what I've done before is I'll come in and I'll meet with you and show y'all what I come up with, and then you'll say, well, go back and do this. And then, so while you're meeting on other stuff, then we could go to, up in the courtroom, or, up in the, what is it called, the jury, not the jury room?
Conference room.
The conference room there, we'll go up there sometimes and work, and change whatever you tell us to change, and then we'll come back down, so it kinda gets two meetings.
And that's happened about every year that you're here.
Absolutely, yeah.
I'd like the 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could do the budget work session at 10, regular business at 12:30.
Right, because I know something is scheduled for 12:30.
Well, you had said appraiser, but I bumped them down a tiny bit because I need some admin time.
You moved it back.
I did.
Okay.
So we could do that, be here at 10 o'clock and meet with whatever we've got prepared. And then if you did want us to, if there's some other things you wanted to see, we could go upstairs while you're meeting on your regular business, and then come back and give you an update if you want that.
Commission, how's that sound for Monday?
Make it work, it's fine.
No, it's supposed to be at my other work, that's fine.
So,
I set the terms and conditions.
Oh, yeah, you do, you're the
That's
principal.
supposed to be.
I set the terms and conditions.
Dave?
Not there, not there.
I'm fine.
Okay, Jonah?
Yeah.
Dave, you? That's the plan then, 10 o'clock, and we'll go over a rundown, and then can we go into our own business at any time, or do we have to wait till?
wait till
12:30.
Gotta be
We'll have
posted.
enough to go to the new. Don't you?
Will
Yeah.
you need that much time?
Or
Start
10,
at 10:30?
10:30,
10:30?
I think an hour and a half would be probably, because what happens if we don't get it all discussed,
Yeah.
then
Still do
we
it
could,
later.
yeah, we could do it later.
Okay.
That way you don't have.
10:30 would be a little bit better for me.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'd be great.
I'll do whatever.
Yeah, 10:30 would be great.
Sounds good.
10:30?
Good.
You can be there, open the doors.
Going once, going twice for 10:30, 3 times, 10:30.
Sold.
So, yeah.
All right, I know what to
10:30.
do, yes.
Better be
Okay.
good.
So that'll work, and then we'll take care of that Monday.
Okay.
And,
And then if you need to talk more about budget, you
Yeah.
can do it after our little bit of business we have to do.
okay. All right.
Yeah, if you go revenue neutral with the Keystone coming in, hypothetically, does the constituents actually pay less on their property taxes?
Oh, absolutely. If the Keystone stayed at 18 million,
So that'd be the one thing I'd like to see, I guess, next Monday, is what mill levy rate that would be, where it could be above revenue neutral and still provide some relief to the constituents.
yeah, I could.
If you had a ballpark number.
Yeah, because what you could do is you could actually go in and put there's a calculator in the back of the budget thing, budget file for the state of Kansas. I think you could stick in the 18 million. And we can figure out what that 18 million, we can really easily figure out what that 18 million is generate for your county. And then if you, I mean, but I don't know, I was gonna try to call that pipeline guy, I don't know if that would even stay around if they, I mean, that's kinda scary if you're building a budget based on 18 million and the pipeline's shut down by the president. I mean, I don't know how that all works, I'm not the.
Since Commissioner Garing brought it up, and Dave said something outside as was going out after dinner there, or going for dinner. Other projects, do we want to include anything for a project? I'm just gonna throw it out since I've been after a building, a storage building, but that's up there. I'm saying there's other projects maybe more important than that, and I'm just throwing it out. Do we want to throw something in here to budget in for?
That's what we really need to work on, a capital improvement plan for county facilities. We talked earlier about road and bridge. Now we need to talk about just exactly what you brought up, Randy, is we've got storage needs, we've got space needs, we've got road and bridge building needs.
Yeah, you can big, look behind you there.
We started on this.
We started. There aren't there by any means.
At least have a list.
Yes.
And actually, there's another thing to add, I just about had it. I should-
These are all things that are gonna have dollar values attached to them, different associated places.
That's what a number of those will fall under ARP, but obviously the building will. You don't, of course, we don't know. At the same time,
We don't know.
Randy's brought up the point I want to follow up on too, is we've got a number of building needs. We still need to determine the priority scope, but we need to start working that into our budget and the planning.
Right. It's gotta be.
It's gotta be.
Yeah, if you ain't got the money for it, you'll never get it done.
And the only other thing that I have in mind is I don't see how there's a rented building up there, and I don't know what it costs, and I forgot, and I don't see it in here, what we pay per month.
$16.50. Me at the health department?
Yeah, health department.
$16.50, I think.
That's what it is, 16. Then we got a rented building over there, hopefully we could change.
It might be up to $2,000, because we added the extra square footage for some COVID stuff, so.
Well, and you've also added an office for emergency management over there, because
Yep.
you expanded that department.
Yep.
We need to do an analysis on what type of space is needed, again, the cost benefit, whether maybe you're ahead renting it
Anytime
versus
we-
building new.
Anytime we build a building, we gotta be thinking of the thought to, either allocate some space to that building, or add to that building to get them out of there.
Well, and that's why I just brought it up, is because there is an extra 50 foot besides even what I had designed at one time, to 50 by 90 there for office space there to be added on if you did something. So, you know, it's gonna take some engineering and some thoughts, but we're sitting here just keep putting money out.
That takes some cost analysis.
What is- what's the
Sometimes
pay?
lease makes more sense than buying, but.
You're paying
not always.
$1,459.52 a month for the two departments' rents.
Okay, and then.
$14.59?
Oh, nope, that's not right. Sorry, because I didn't get WIC on there, just a second. Got it split out into other. Sorry.
So many pots.
Then you're paying the rental space
Yeah,
right across the road.
That's a
That
tricky
250
thing,
was
you know, when they come on.
How much did we pay over
is-
there?
Where'd you get that at? Well, that's over
Not that-
here, under
not
this.
that
yeah.
much. It's-
5 entities
Well, I mean, it's-
contributing to that one rental.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's not,
The zoning department,
yeah, it's cheaper over there than it is up there.
I thought it was $800.
8 a month? I thought it was 600 a month.
okay, we're paying for the health department and emergency management for St. Luke's, we're paying $1,735 a month.
We weren't far off, okay.
And. Oops.
But where we wanna go with some of this is, it's gotta have planning, like
Right.
we said.
And-
Would that be the only rental?
We rent some
we're-
space in Hillsborough for the generators and stuff.
250 a month over there.
And we're renting
We have to have
planning and zoning
Severe
space
fault
right
or
now,
fit some items.
which is
That's
600 a month.
So, yeah.
600 a month over there, right?
600
Yeah.
and 250 for the storage.
So what are we gonna do with that space when we get back over here?
That's another thought,
We have
Dave.
to
What
get
are we
model or
gonna
something,
do?
or
I don't know, I mean, that's,
we got a budget for
We don't want to, I don't know that they got the deal signed, sealed, and delivered. So
It was in the newspaper.
It's
that
in the
they did.
newspaper.
Oh, okay, okay,
If it's
okay.
in the newspaper.
Yes, it's a big article in the paper.
Okay.
yeah.
You never know if it's truth.
Yeah.
The notice is published.
They're waiting for some kind of government approval.
Any other commissioners' thoughts on what, you know, I mean,
Well, I just wanted to touch back on that economic development thing, you know, and like I said, billboards have fallen over. My billboard idea has got nothing to do with being in Marion County setting billboards. I figure once you're here, we've already got your money.
You're talking about
I'm talking about
I-35?
Yeah, well, let's put them out on the interstate and those types of economic development. Run them this way.
that's a great idea, I mean, it is something to talk about.
And it doesn't take a whole lot of personnel or people. It
Takes money.
takes some money, you set it out there and you hope for the best for a while.
What was it, Enterprise? Enterprise has something up on the I-70 or something, or I-70 up there, I think Enterprise has something, come see.
A lot of towns have signs up on I-70.
Yeah.
So those were, just to clarify that little moment I had with economic development.
Yeah, the ones that you get when you hit the county line, it's already too late.
Yeah, you're already here.
Plus, all they're doing is to ask you to stop for coffee.
Yeah.
If you put tourism-related things on there, and you're promoting tourism, you can use transient guest tax funds for that.
And if that's an avenue, then I would like to see some funding that way, so that we can do more of that.
And then
I mean,
maybe-
if you're not gonna make it tourism-related, then you can't use that.
And you can set up a general line item right here for that, I mean, if that money runs out sometime, which it will, because we're
We
not.
have plenty of things we could put on tourism, what?
Come see our lakes.
I'm not talking about anything really big economic development, it's something that we could maybe decide amongst ourselves, just a little. spend
Well,
about
with
$5
no
grand
other,
a year.
with no other suggestions here, I guess, Tina, or is it okay to adjourn this meeting?
Well, I'd like to follow up on the buildings. I don't know if we really got a
Okay.
direction or consensus. Would it be appropriate to start a fund, or do we need to do our capital improvement plan first? I mean,
We've had a line item in the budget
Just to help
for
me
several
understand.
years that's called multipurpose building, and
Okay.
we've tried to put money in there
Okay.
multiple times, and we have ended up using it for
Ended up
different
using it.
projects.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the board has kind of
Start.
attempted in the past.
Okay, where is that and how much is?
Is that, I don't know if it's still in
I
here.
don't know, we've taken it out, we've used it all.
Well, is it a line item in the
Yeah,
budget?
It's in the
was,
budget, isn't
yes.
it in the general
Is it
fund?
in the budget?
I don't know if there's that line item still.
Okay, there's two places. If you
Okay.
look on page 25, there's a road and bridge building that we had originally set up for $750,000, and it's zeros. It's right along the bottom line there underneath subtotal there, if you see that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's a,
Road and bridge, once you go
Yeah.
Huh?
There's
there.
your
Road and
budget.
bridge,
yeah, we had one point there about,
he's got $1 million building up.
yeah. I think we had 500,000 there at one point, I don't know.
Yeah, somewhere up there. I know 300,000.
And give me just a minute.
Page 18, there's multi-purpose building.
Yeah, is that what it's at?
18?
18. Yep, there it is. If you look on, it's under subtotal, you see the subtotal bold, the next line down is multi-purpose building.
Oh,
We
zero.
didn't, we didn't have an amount written in there, but I think at one point it was it 1 million? 500,000, 1 million, I don't remember. We had an amount, maybe it just got.
500,000 what we was shooting for at that time.
See, one thing to manage this, I mean, I know the capital improvement here has always been, roads.
Sure.
But in all the other places I work, cities and all that, anything that's defined as a capital improvement line item is actually put in that capital improvement fund. So like you'd have maybe roads, and you have, like I was saying, broke out for gravel, blacktop, and then you maybe have buildings, and you have the 3 or 4 buildings that are listed there that you're looking to fund, and then you might have technology or whatever, and you put it below that. And why that's handy. Now, it can change, you know, but from one meeting to the next, but why that's handy is it's all in one place. Right now, you just saw how many different places that we got it. And so that's something I like to simplify. Now, in the past, each fund the reason we had it that way is each fund kind of funded that.
Sure.
But if you did it right, the general fund could, you know, you could maybe up the levy over here to do something, or down the levy here and fund it the general. So it all goes into one place, and then you can manage that.
Change the line in that fund that says transfer, so
Yeah.
it's going into there.
Yeah, see, the problem is you can't transfer, and that's why I was giving a hard time about the park. Is you
That's why I
can't,
wrote a check.
because most funds do not allow a transfer out of them. So what I've always tried to do is, you don't wanna lock money down in like a fund you can't transfer out of. So like elderly, you can't transfer out of the elderly fund. So you always run that budget as bare bones as possible. If it does need help, the general fund can always help it, okay? The two transfers that you have, there's three that you can transfer. We don't have one of them, but it's capital improvement out of the general, risk management, we already talked about, and there's probably another one that I don't know, and then equipment reserve. We've never done that here. Some counties actually set up an actual equipment reserve fund, instead of having the departments actually fund it out of capital outlay. They take the capital outlay line out of all the departments, and they fund that equipment reserve with the capital outlay line, so that it's all managed in an equipment reserve fund. So,
I guess from my perspective, wouldn't that make sense to do that?
yeah, I think, yeah, it's just whatever you get used to. I think each department likes to.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the department heads like to have.
That's my asking.
Well, I was just gonna say, if you have a centralized person that oversees that, like an administrator,
Right,
yeah.
that's when it makes a lot of
Gotcha.
sense
Yeah,
to do it that
yeah.
way.
I got it.
If you don't, and,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it may or may not make as much sense.
I
For
think
me,
what
the
it
way
gets.
it is, as it stands now, it's like seeing the transfer station. I can see income and I can see expense. And I
Absolutely.
can see whether that place is profitable, breaking even.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking.
I think
Once you have an administrator, like she said, it would change that whole
It
aspect.
potentially change it, yeah.
I think what's happened there literally is, and I see this in our counties, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Sure.
So
That's
like,
exactly
if
what's
someone says,
not-
if someone says, I need my piece of equipment over all the other department heads, who's gonna, I mean, you, the commissioners might say, well, I think we should do it over here. But what she's saying is, like, when you have an administrative
Mhm.
oversight of all these, then it makes it a little, they have to really go to work to say, that's why I need that money.
And then you can assign a point system to evaluate what is the highest priority.
Okay. Yep.
I'll go with that. I guess then coming back to the building issue, I would sure like to see some money put into a multi-purpose building budget. I mean, if we're gonna do something, you gotta start budgeting for it, don't you?
Sure.
I think I'd agree with that.
You're not gonna hear me say no.
I was waiting for Randy to say, oh, we can't do that.
I mean, you need to budget 100,000 a year?
Oh, no, I'd go back to 500. That's what it
No,
was.
no, a year.
Yeah.
I mean, start
To start.
from where
You
it
gotta
got
start.
started.
That's the end figure.
No,
You wanna
Maybe do it
you wanna
maybe
budget
not.
500,000 a year?
no, for next year,
You wanna do it in 1 year?
no.
Get it back to where it was.
No,
Get it back to where it was.
It'll take $1 million.
I think what
to
he's
buy.
saying is he wants to put 500,000 in for next year and then
Yes.
build from there.
And then build for, at least get started.
And then
And
see a
right now
plan,
it's zero.
then see a plan.
And that gives us time to build a plan.
Because if you put a health department on the end of it or something like that,
Sure.
it's gonna push the 1 million mark really easy.
Oh,
to
yeah.
to go higher.
But at least you got something to
Yeah.
start. So, not just trying to blow
But
the
then,
budget.
what you just heard from him, Scott, was contracted out. I mean, if that's a common thing, well, maybe we're not shooting right.
It's still got an office for it.
For that, so.
Gina?
Sorry,
You're
that's not a
saying
question. Scott, What would stop the board from making a second resolution and couldn't we have two capital improvement funds? One that's specific for roads and one
Yeah.
for other projects?
Yeah.
And levying a certain amount in the general fund to transfer like we are with roads,
I
just
don't
say,
think there'd be anything wrong with it.
say, here's a set levy that we're gonna do
Mhm.
to try to build that up like we do with the roads.
And what you just asked too, Dave, is what's gonna happen over here. This thing's a nightmare over here, this little thing over here. If that happened to fall down and crumble in, I mean, then put something nice here for offices too. I just, yeah. I mean, that's.
It ain't falling down, that's pretty stout.
Yeah, I agree, but
It's never
It may not
Fall
be
down.
practical,
It
but
may
it's
not
not
be-
gonna
there you
fall
go.
down.
Yeah.
But you can build up.
You could probably stack a whole other building on top.
Oh, yeah, and go out.
Yeah.
It's got a solid point.
Final words. Anybody?
I think just to kind of wrap this up, David's got some great questions, and we put these line items in here. I think what it takes is, and I don't mean this bad about anybody, but it takes an incredible discipline. I mean, I see this in all these governments. The ones that have discipline to say, this is the plan, we're sticking to it. The problem is, it's just like what Jack Bruner set up. I mean, that was an incredible, the way we're gonna do, every year, we're gonna do so much, 2 inches. But I think what happened there, I mean, we did get pushed with
Oil increase.
there was oil increases. I don't remember what all, but there's always
Wasn't the county
something.
at a very high debt level at that point?
Yeah, it was
I mean, it couldn't sustain.
Yeah, it maxed out,
It couldn't sustain.
it maxed out the debt level, but I'm just saying, I think.
I
it was-
remember back then, and I heard them talk about the commission bankrupting in the county and everything else, so.
Turned out to be a good thing though.
I mean, it's just something, it's really hard. It's just like at home, especially when you get kids, and I don't mean that.
No budget.
You get, there's no,
Budget
they needed a new baseball glove, and they need, car, and
It's
I mean,
just
just,
20 hours a time.
yeah.
Until I get the car.
Scott, are you okay with the times in and for Monday?
I'm ready.
Okay.
Scott, I just being through it's his first time, so I mean, I would by all means put in the wish list and bring back that mill levy, because that always seemed to work for me in the very beginning. It was like, yeah, I want this, I want this, I want
I know,
this.
and
And
then-
then all of a sudden,
Yeah,
whoa,
cut that.
whoa, no.
Yep.
Something to keep in mind though, and we've been talking about this, privatization. What's our big issue in the county? We can't get employees.
Can't get
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't keep employees depending on what they do.
Plus managing employees.
And I think you're gonna see more and more
I think that's good.
privatization of different areas, and I don't think you're gonna privatize the county, but areas of it, I think it's coming.
Yeah, there's a big push like in the federal government, for privatization in all ways. Which I don't know if that's good or bad sometimes, but there is, okay, so if you took this budget for David's purposes here, I haven't looked at it this year, but it's roughly 55% is personnel, okay, in a county. A school district is about 80 to 85%, okay? The thing that you have here that is a little harder to manage is the road piece.
Yes.
Because if you looked at 55% personnel, I think I did that last year, it's another 20% or something like that, or 20 of roads. So that adds up pretty quick. So, if you can take a piece of that and just contract it and then not have, whether it's set up the toll booths or not, that's really what they were trying to do there. They were trying to privatize the road, fixing the roads in a county. I don't think it worked. I just can't see how it would work. But
There
we're
are
gonna try
parts
it.
of that puzzle that can be.
Yeah, there is parts. Yeah, there are
It's
parts.
always a good place to have balance.
Yes.
Is the commission okay with potentially, adding a line in the general fund? Judge Powers came down and talked to me again yesterday about security and about getting a person in the courtroom. So he didn't include that in his budget request, but if we added a line for like 25,000 for next year, what does the board feel about
Remember
that?
the district court?
We would put it in our general
General
fund,
fund.
and then it'd be shared. They would utilize them primarily for district court, and then it would be, they could patrol also, but.
One incident, that's the best one.
He tried to hurt our feelings because we're the only county that don't have.
Well, I went to Osage last, in January, and I was just walking in like I always do, and all the doors were locked. And then I go around to the door that's not locked, and I have to go through, I used to fly a lot. I have to go through a security system that is way more restrictive than the airlines.
Wow.
I mean, I had to take everything out of my pockets,
This is in Osage?
Yeah, Osage County. You can't get in the courthouse now unless you go through the.
Now, is that just the courtroom part, or is that the
Nope.
whole courthouse?
The whole courthouse.
Just the whole
Whole
courthouse?
courthouse, yeah. Yeah, because when they, well, you didn't go, but when they went to audit, they had to take all their laptops out. They had to, I mean, literally, it's just like a little even more restrictive. I was
Everything goes through scanner.
Yeah. I don't know if they had the, I don't know if they had the scanner there, but just me, I had to take my belt. I mean, I had to take literally everything, just my clothes, but I mean, I was surprised. I go, whoa, my, but I can see, you're right, one
incident.
You know, one incident, so you hate to,
Then you do
you
have
hate to run
background.
from fear, but it's, with the court, I mean, I've been in courthouses when it's court day, and you've all felt that, there's.
It's a different.
Some tension.
That's like he said, I got sentenced here in prison, I'm gonna sit out in the hallway.
Wait for the officer.
Just wait for the officer.
Yeah, and wait for an officer to come pick you up.
Yeah,
I
right.
just hope they stay there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion to adjourn with me, second by Jonah. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0. Thank you, Scott, and helpers. Because we need you all here to get this done, and we let you guys get your job going. Whoop, the mouth.